Achoo. Leo Evans wiped his nose, frowning. Who's talking trash about me? Squeak, not me. From his breast pocket, Captain Crunch, terrified that Leo might be looking for someone to blame, immediately cleared his name. After all, during his time at the Reed estate, Sir Reginald Fluffington had told Captain Crunch all about Leo, recounting some of his exploits. He's got a few screws loose. That was Reggie's assessment of Leo. Leo held his rifle, his eyes scanning the dense woods with caution. As things stood, the probability of him running into the Foam Alliance was much higher than running into the Reeds. According to Alex Young's report, most of the Reed family members were in hiding, while the Foam Alliance was out in full force. The most urgent task was to find Julian Reed and let him know he had arrived. Leo had a great deal of respect for Julian's strategic mind. Maybe his arrival would spark a new plan. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A faint sound came from ahead. Leo's senses went on high alert, and he went quiet, creeping forward. A figure came into view. The man was crouched at the base of a large tree, cautiously looking around as if searching for something on the trunk. Leo frowned. Once he was within range, he raised his rifle and aimed it at the man's back. Hands on your head. Stand up. The man froze, immediately doing as he was told. He placed his hands on his head and slowly rose to his feet. Which side are you on? Foam or Reed? That voice. Is that you, Mr. Evans? Leo's brow twitched. He knew him. Turn around. The man complied, slowly turning. When he saw Leo's face, his expression flooded with excitement. Mr. Evans, it really is you. You are. Leo was a bit face-blind. He looked familiar, but he couldn't place him. It's me, Marco. Marco said, practically buzzing. We met at the Midnight Oil when you came to pick up the phone. The name Marco jogged his memory. When he'd gone to the club, it was Marco who had met him and given him the burner phone. That phone was supposed to have been for contacting a mole within the Foam Alliance at a critical moment, a way to deliver a fatal economic blow. But then Julian had dragged the phones to the crucible, rendering those moles useless. At best, they could help recover some of the Foam Alliance's industrial assets after the fact. Those moles were just ordinary members embedded in the Foam's businesses. For this operation, Victor Foam had been careful to bring only his core, trusted members. Julian had done the same. In a battle for survival, you couldn't trust anyone but your inner circle. Otherwise, even the most insignificant person could stab you in the back, and you'd never forget it. Seeing he was one of the Reeds, Leo lowered his rifle. What were you doing here just now? At the question, Marco's face fell. Mr. Evans, you came just in time. You have to check on Kane. He's not going to make it. What? 10 minutes later, in a crude wooden shack, Leo's eye twitched. This is what you call not going to make it. Leo pointed at Kane and demanded, what did you feed him? Kane was lying on a small bed woven from branches and leaves, his eyes wide and vacant, his hands flailing in the air. Hee. A dragon. I see a dragon. His grin was unnervingly sleazy, and a trail of drool escaped the corner of his mouth. Marco avoided eye contact, mumbling, Kane got shot. He couldn't move well, and we lost our food on the way. So, I went out to find something for him to eat. And what did you find? Mushrooms. Are you sure? Well, they looked like mushrooms. Leo sighed softly. He knew exactly what had happened to Kane. It was classic mushroom poisoning, causing hallucinations. Mr. Evans, what do we do? Is Kane going to die? He'll be fine. It's just mushroom poisoning. Doesn't look like a serious case. He'll come to his senses in a bit, throw up, and be okay. After saying this, Leo pulled out his phone and switched on a video camera. He walked over, aimed the lens at Kane's face, and smiled. Kane. Hee. Tell me, what do you see? I see a golden dragon. Doing a TikTok dance, hee. Does that dragon look like Julian Reed? Hee. You know, it really does. Hee. Perfect. Leo stopped recording, a satisfied smile on his face. This video was blackmail material he could use for the rest of Kane's life. KSSHHD, the sound of static crackled. Leo looked over and saw a walkie-talkie in Marco's hand. Hello, how is he? Is that moron Kane conscious yet? Julian's voice came through the speaker. Marco glanced at Leo and very tactfully handed him the walkie-talkie. Smart man. You'll go far, kid. Leo gave him an approving look and brought the device to his mouth. Hello, Julian, can you hear me? On the other end, Julian's voice was replaced by an endless silence. Leo frowned. Why wasn't he answering? Hello, Julian, can you hear me? Now. Yo, you can hear me? What the hell are you doing here? Julian's shout nearly made Leo drop the device. What are you screaming about? Leo said, annoyed. I heard you guys were in a bad spot, so I came all the way here to help. Who the hell told you we were in a bad spot? The BSO. They said your lines have completely collapsed and you're getting your asses kicked all over the island. Julian's fist clenched. He wanted to curse. Those morons at the BSO. My brilliant plan looks like a total collapse to you. It was true. The current situation was entirely of Julian's making. The only thing that had gone off script was that shot from Rose, but Kane had taken the bullet, so the plan was still under his control. Taking a deep breath, Julian said, "You're here. What about Ava?" "Relax. Didn't you call your dad back?" "My dad? You mean Anthony Reed?" "Geez, you call your own father by his full name?" "I usually call him the old bastard." Leo's mouth twitched. The Reed family style was certainly something else. "Fine. Since you're here, it's perfect timing. Help us look." "Look for what?" "A tree." Julian quickly explained. "Back in the day, my dad blew up half of the Crucible, but he left behind a huge stash of high explosives. Enough to blow up another quarter of this island." "Damn. But what has that to do with a tree?" "The old bastard buried the explosives under a tree on the eastern side. He said he carved something into the trunk, so we know it when we see it." Now Leo understood. "So you deliberately scattered your people to find that tree?" "Exactly. With those explosives, we can find the right moment to just blow the island to hell and be done with it." "No wonder you insisted on coming to the Crucible. This was part of your plan all along." "Not entirely. I wasn't pinning all my hopes on that stash of explosives. But we have the manpower to spare right now, so we might as well look. Finding would be a huge bonus." Julian paused, then added, "I've split our people into a dozen small teams, all connected by walkie-talkie. Since that idiot Kane is out of commission, you and Marco can look after him. Until Kane wakes up, don't you dare make a move. It's not time to fight yet. We find the tree first, understand? Do not make a move. Do you hear me, Leo? Hello? Hello? Leo, you son of a bitch, answer me." Leo didn't answer. He just shut off the walkie-talkie and tossed it back to Marco. Find a tree? Was he kidding? On an island this big, in a forest this vast, you want to find one specific tree? You might as well just fight the phone Alliance head on. Julian was certifiably insane. If anyone actually found that tree, Leo would streak across the AU campus quad. He yawned, feeling the urge to leave. If the Reeds weren't at a disadvantage, what was he doing here? Wasting time? He'd rather be at home, cuddling with his girlfriend. He. Kane was still lost in his hallucination. Leo paused, glancing at Kane, and sighed. Well, he was already here. He pulled Captain Crunch from his pocket and whispered, "Go scout the area. If you see anyone, come back and tell me immediately." Squeak, roger that. Captain Crunch scampered off. Marco, watching this, was frozen in place. He thought he might be hallucinating too. Animal whisper? Leo raised an eyebrow. Yeah, you could say that. But it wasn't like he could command just any animal. It was a low-level skill, after all. An animal liking you didn't mean you could control it. Especially not some of the larger, more aggressive beasts. One wrong move could piss them off and reset their affinity for you to zero. Mr. Evans, maybe you should hold on to this. Marco offered the walkie-talkie back. He was afraid that if Julian couldn't take his anger out on Leo, he'd be the next target. Fine. But don't call me Mr. Evans. It's weird. Leo took the device and stuffed it in his pocket. How about Leo? TCH. You guys are so unprofessional. How many times do I have to say it? On an operation, we use code names. Then what's your code name? Call me Burrito King. Huh. Marco felt his world tilting. Ever since Leo showed up, the entire vibe had gone off the rails. Leo pulled an energy bar from his pocket, handed it to Marco, and said with grave seriousness, Marco, you need to remember this. From this moment on, everything that happens on this island has nothing to do with Leo Evans. Every ridiculous thing you see, that's Burrito King's doing. It has absolutely no connection to Leo Evans. Got it? Got it, Marco said, his mouth full of the bar. He had no idea why. But who cared? He was starving, and free food was free food. Any sign of them? A man in camouflage gear moved through the dense forest, also holding a walkie-talkie. His name was Slade, the captain of Donovan Vance's private military unit and an ex-soldier. While he wasn't on Rose's level, the fact that he had earned Vance's trust was proof of his considerable skill. Report, Captain. Nothing yet. Slade nodded, cautioning, don't get careless. The Reeds are a minor family, but if we drop the ball on this one, Mr. Vance's opinion of us will definitely take a hit. Don't worry, Captain. With Rose on our side, I don't see how we can possibly lose. Slade chuckled softly at that, not bothering to argue. It was true. With a woman like Rose in the fight, what could the Reeds possibly do? He switched off the walkie-talkie and continued his careful search. Not far away, perched on a branch, Captain Crunch observed everything. Back in the forest, the squirrel was in his element, zipping through the trees with nimble grace. He raced back to the cabin and reported the situation to Leo. Burrito. King, what is it? Marco still wasn't used to the codename. Leo's brow furrowed. Someone's heading this way. What? Marco's mouth twitched. He gave Leo a strange look. We've been sitting here for half a day with no problems. You show up, and suddenly there's trouble? Leo glanced at Kane, who was looking slightly better but still not fully lucid. Carry Kane and relocate? No time, and they might run into someone else. Sigh. Guess I have to go toe-to-toe. Grabbing his rifle, Leo instructed Marco, you guard this moron until I get back. What if he don't come back? Then we all damn well die together. Leo snapped. If he didn't come back, did Marco really think the two of them would survive? He'd originally thought Marco was a sharp guy, but now it seemed he'd overestimated him. Leo stepped out of the cabin. Captain Crunch pointed him in a direction before leaping into the trees. After walking a short distance, Leo scanned his surroundings, found a suitable tree, and scrambled up its trunk, setting up his sniper rifle. The rifle was Kane's, which he had temporarily requisitioned. Leo was sure Kane would have approved. A classic kneeling sniper pose. For a normal person, firing from this position on a tree branch would throw their center of gravity completely off. Someone with poor balance might even fall. But Leo was different. He had the holy trinity of engagement skills from a system. Enhanced physiology, firearms mastery, and combat mastery. With those three combined, even a legendary marksman would have to give him a wide berth. TCH. Gotcha. Through the scope, Leo spotted Slade's figure. He took a light breath and, without hesitation, slowly squeezed the trigger. Flump. Even with the suppressor, the shot made a distinct sound. The bullet cut through the air, aimed straight for the space between Slade's eyes. Miles away, the moment the scope found him, a sense of foreboding washed over Slade. Shit, danger. It was a sixth sense honed by years on the battlefield. Before Leo even fired, Slade instinctively dove for the cover of a nearby tree, dropping low and rolling just as the shot was fired. He dodged it by a hair's breadth. Thwack! Leo's bullet grazed past Slade's scalp. Staring at the impact mark on the ground, Slade's heart hammered in his chest. His eyes widened in disbelief as he tried to pinpoint the direction of the shot. In a tree, Slade instantly realized the shot had come from a tree, and from a considerable distance. Shit, who is it? Slade cursed under his breath. To be able to set up a sniper nest in a tree in this environment and make such a precise shot. An expert. But where would the Reed family find an expert sniper? Snipers were rare, and true skill required talent. Most families could only afford to train one or two, at most. High-level snipers were even rarer, since raw talent was essential to reach that level. According to their intel, the only noteworthy sniper the Reeds had was Kane. But he'd been shot. There was no way he could maintain this level of precision. Damn it, who the hell is it? Slade couldn't figure out how he'd had the bad luck to run into such a monster. In this situation, he didn't dare move a muscle. The moment he exposed himself, he was dead. TCH. Fast reflexes. Seeing his first shot miss didn't frustrate Leo. The guy was a captain, after all. If he'd gone down in one shot, Vance's unit wouldn't be much to write home about. But the next shot wouldn't just be a close shave. Leo's expression turned serious. He remained perfectly still, aiming at the tree Slade was hiding behind, his finger resting on the trigger, ready to fire at any moment. The first shot was just a friendly hello to let Slade know he was here. The second one would be his farewell. TCH. Too bad I'm not using a shotgun. In the dense woods, Leo and Slade remained motionless, separated by a great distance. Leo was still, concentrating, aiming at Slade, preparing for the fatal blow. Slade was still, purely because he didn't dare move. The pressure Leo was putting on him was immense. Slade was drenched in sweat, taking deep breaths to calm his racing heart. The tree trunk hiding him wasn't very large. It just barely covered his body, with nothing to spare. Damn it. Not only did I run into an enemy, but it had to be a sniper, Slade cursed, looking at the bullet mark on the ground. His gaze shifted to a spot not far away. His walkie-talkie. It had slipped from his pocket when he dodged the bullet and now lay there on the forest floor. Slade's eyes flickered with indecision. The best move right now was to grab the walkie-talkie and call for backup. He measured the distance. It was just within arm's reach. But no matter how short the distance, the moment he showed himself, he'd be dead. What do I do? Slade muttered to himself, waging a war in his own mind. To grab or not to grab? As Slade wrestled with his decision, he was completely unaware that, directly above his head, a brown squirrel was perched, nibbling on a chestnut. Slade's gaze wavered. What if that last shot was just A fluke? Syndicates don't have that many sharpshooters. They aren't the military. What if that shot was just dumb luck? Damn it, I refuse to believe the Reeds can field 2 master snipers. Slade kept trying to convince himself. He took a deep breath, steeled his nerves, and was just about to make a move. Thwump, another bullet grazed past his shoulder. If Slade hadn't pulled back in time, his shoulder would have been ruined. That shot sent a chill down his spine, extinguishing all hope. Shit, he really is a sharpshooter. Now Slade was perfectly still, standing his ground like a statue in timeout, not daring to twitch. Thwump, another bullet. This one ripped straight through the walkie-talkie, rendering it completely useless. Seeing this, Slade's heart sank. Well, there went his only hope. Time to die. He was already composing his last words. If no one came to rescue him, he was a dead man. In this environment, with a sniper having the initiative and dominant position, there was basically no way to turn the tables. What Slade didn't know was that after firing the 3rd shot, Leo had packed up his rifle and nimbly jumped to the ground. He glanced in Slade's direction, smacked his lips, and headed back. Slade was hiding behind a tree, and Leo couldn't do anything about it. No matter how powerful the sniper rifle, it couldn't punch through a tree trunk that thick. It couldn't even get halfway through. The trees in this dense forest were full of moisture, locking the wood fibers together and making them highly resistant to bullets. You just stay there, Leo said with a smirk. After those 3 shots, Slade would be too terrified to move. What did it matter if Leo left? Was Slade willing to bet on it? Bet that he was gone? If he was wrong, it would cost him his life. As the saying went, the only winning move is not to play. Besides, he still had Captain Crunch watching him. King, you're back already? Marco was surprised to see Leo return so quickly. Had the enemy not shown up? Hearing the abbreviated code name, Leo raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything, accepting it. Of course, the enemy was so overwhelmed by my dashing heroism that he's standing over there in timeout. Marco looked utterly unconvinced. He was sure the enemy had never even been there. King, there's something I want to say, but I'm not sure if I should. Go ahead. You're completely shameless. Yeah, I don't need my shame anymore. You can have it. You don't seem to have any either, Leo retorted. Why wouldn't they believe him when he told the truth? He then turned his attention to Kane and grinned. Yo, you're awake. How was the dancing dragon? Kane was sitting up on the bed, rubbing his temples with a deep frown. Lau, what are you doing here? It took him a long moment to recognize the person standing before him. My head is spinning. What's a dancing dragon? Nothing. Just a dragon that does TikTok dances. That's bullshit. No such dragon exists. Don't worry. You'll see it one day. Leo's smile widened. He couldn't wait to see the look on Kane's face when he saw that video. No, a moment that glorious required a grand occasion. When they got back, he'd gather the entire Reed family for a movie night. Marco stood to the side, wanting to say something but holding his tongue. He wanted to tell Kane about the video, but one look at Leo and he lost his nerve. He had a feeling Leo was even more dangerous than Kane. He gave off the same vibe as the young Miss Ava. It suddenly clicked for Marco. No wonder Leo and the young miss were together. They were 2 of kind. Hiss! Kane clutched his abdomen where Rose had shot him. Damn it. Good thing I was wearing 3 layers of body armor. Otherwise that shot would have killed me. He pulled up his shirt, revealing the thick layers of armor. Leo's mouth twitched. You knew you were going to get shot. No. Then why wear 3 layers? Isn't that hot? If Ava Reed gave you a good luck charm, would you dare not wear 3 layers? Impressive. You actually carried something that unlucky on you. Leo gave Kane a thumbs up. Truly, it could only be you. If you didn't get shot, who would? Kane pulled the woven red charm from his pocket and tossed it to Leo. Here, you can have this piece of crap. I'm done with it. Don't give it to me. Leo caught it, breaking out in a cold sweat. Just holding this thing was practically a guarantee of getting shot. Squeak, I'm back. Just then, Captain Crunch scurried in, clutching a chestnut, and reported that Slade was still standing guard obediently. His arrival immediately drew Kane's attention. Why did the scene feel so familiar? The suburbs. A factory. A rat. Yep, it all checked out. Leo watched Captain Crunch quietly. After a long moment, a smile spread across his face. I have a bold idea. Squeak? A short while later, once Kane had fully recovered, the group quickly packed up and moved to another safe location. Slade was still standing in the same spot, praying his teammates would come and rescue him. He hadn't noticed that, tucked neatly inside the hood of his jacket, was Ava Reed's good luck charm. Captain Crunch had circled back and quietly placed it there. If it was such an unlucky item, why should one of their own have to carry it? Wouldn't it be better to give it to the enemy? The 3 of them moved cautiously through the dense woods. Kane was on high alert, scanning their surroundings for any sign of the enemy. Marco, meanwhile, was looking for the tree, carefully inspecting every trunk they passed for the mark Anthony Reed had left. Among the three, only Leo walked with a firm gaze and a clear destination. "Leo, where are we going?" Kane asked. "To the ruined city in the center of the island," Leo replied. He'd seen a map of the Crucible. In its center was a massive, dilapidated city. According to Anthony Reed, the streets there were covered in rubble and debris, filled with skeletal remains of buildings and rusted-out facilities. "Are you insane?" Hearing Leo's plan, Kane immediately grabbed his arm. "The ruined city is swarming with phones right now. Even if they've sent most of their people out, Victor Fong and Rose are still there. If we run into them, we won't even have a chance to escape." Leo's eyes lit up with excitement. "What did you say? Rose is there?" "Yes, so we should." "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." "What?" Kane couldn't comprehend. "Are you trying to get us killed?" He didn't know that Leo was actively looking for Rose. Take out Rose, get the hidden reward, then let Julian wipe out the Phone Alliance. A perfect plan. "Trust me, old man," Leo said, turning back with a serious expression. "The two of us. No, and Marco. The three of us will go take out Rose and Victor Fong. Then this whole thing is in the bag." "Kane." "Marco." The two of them stood frozen, staring at Leo. "Do you hear the words coming out of your own mouth?" Kane silently walked up, clapped Leo on the shoulder, and said earnestly, "Leo, what is it? Why don't you just go home?" Kane's eyes held a pleading look. "I'm starting to think your being here might not be a good thing." "Don't worry, old man. I'll protect myself. Who the hell is worried about you?" Kane's eyes widened. "Can't we just play it safe? Taking on Rose and Victor Fong at the same time? Who do you think you are?" Marco trembled nearby, not daring to speak. He could feel that Kane was on the verge of exploding. He just prayed Leo would listen to reason and drop this insane idea. "Play it safe." Leo frowned in thought. "You're right, this is a bit risky." Seeing this, Kane nodded in relief. It seemed there was still hope for Leo. He could be reasoned with. "In that case, we'll take out Rose first. We can deal with Victor Fong later." "You son of a bitch. You just won't listen, will you?" Kane gave up. He held out his hand, intending to take back his sniper rifle. "What?" Leo asked, confused. "Give me back the sniper rifle. It's too dangerous for you to have it." "Don't be ridiculous. You're still injured. And you'll give it back when I'm better?" "No." Kane clenched his fists. He hadn't been this agitated before Leo arrived. He was usually a very calm person. "Ahem." Marco coughed, cautiously suggesting, "Why don't we?" Asked Mr. Reed. He was terrified the two of them were about to start throwing punches, and he wouldn't know whose side to take. The only person who could probably talk sense into them was Julian. Kane glanced at Marco, fell silent for a moment, and then slowly nodded. Something this big did require Julian's input. Seeing that they both agreed, Leo sighed in exasperation and pulled out the walkie-talkie. "KSSHHHD, hello, Julian, copy?" Leo called out. Soon, Julian's voice crackled through. "Leo, if you hang up on me again, I swear to God." "Whoa, don't get excited. Look, I have a bold idea, but Kane doesn't agree, so I wanted to get your opinion." "I don't agree either." "Shit, I haven't even said what it is yet. Any idea you have, especially one that Kane has already rejected, is one I can't possibly agree to." Leo's mouth twitched. He felt like he was being ostracized. It hurt. He'd come all this way to help, and this was the thanks he got. He felt heartbroken for a full 2.5 seconds. Then, he took a deep breath and laid out his plan. "Here's the idea. I take Kane and Marco. The three of us go and take out Rose. If it's convenient, we'll take out Victor Fong too. If the plan goes smoothly, you won't have to look for that tree anymore. We could just steamroll them." "Leo, you son of a..." "KSSHHD." Leo decisively shut off the walkie-talkie, then turned to Kane and Marco with a straight face. "See? Julian agrees." When did he agree? Kane was on the verge of a breakdown. He was clearly about to cuss you out. "Him cussing me out doesn't mean he disagrees with my idea," Leo said calmly. The logic was sound. "All right, enough talk. Let's go." He grabbed Kane and started walking toward the ruined city. "Well, have I ever been unreliable?" Kane's face was a mask of despair. "Fine. Let all burn." He was done. The light had gone out of Marco's eyes, too. He followed behind them like a zombie. Before he saw Leo, he thought hope had arrived. He didn't realize it was hope's evil twin, despair. And so, 3 men and a squirrel, each with a different mindset, marched toward the ruined city. One with eyes full of excitement. One whose spirit was broken, resigned to his fate. And one who was already composing his last words. Thud, thud, thud. In another corner of the island, Julian was furiously kicking a tree, venting his frustration. "I told you not to come to the Crucible. Thud. I told you not to hang up on me. Thud. I told you your name wasn't damn Leo. Thud. The few Reed family members with him watched in stunned silence, huddled to the side and trembling. What's wrong with Mr. Reed? I don't know. He was fine until he talked to Leo. Have you guys noticed? Ever since Leo came to the family, Mr. Reed's temper has gotten worse every day. Forget Mr. Reed. A few days ago, Kane was so on edge I was afraid to even talk to him. Julian was panting, his anger now extending to the BSO. A bunch of useless hacks who couldn't do anything right but were experts at screwing things up. If they hadn't leaked the intel, would Leo have come? If Leo hadn't come, would he be having this massive headache? Taking Kane to kill Rose? Who do you think you are? A god who can kill anyone he wants. As for Marco, Julian completely ignored him. Marco's skills weren't even good enough for a support role. He was just along for the ride. Taking a deep breath, Julian turned and started walking away. And Mr. Reed, where are we going? One of the men asked weakly. Where else? Julian shot him a glare, his face red with anger. To the ruined city, of course. To tie up that brain-dead chaos magnet and drag him back. Aren't we looking for the tree anymore? To hell with the tree. Night fell over Ethelberg City, near the Reed estate. Marcus Lynn sat in his car, his gaze fixed on the Reed family's main gate, his eyes dark with malice. Damn it, if only someone hadn't rescued Spencer Foam. He gritted his teeth, still unable to figure out who had done it. And the worst part was, fine, you rescue him. But why the hell did you have to leave a pile of Lynn Syndicate emblems at the scene? Marcus wanted nothing more than to find that person and put a bullet in them every day for a week. If he hadn't sent his own people to clean up that pile of cheap knockoff emblems, he'd probably have a BSO warrant out for his arrest by now. And now, he had to handle this himself. When had he, Marcus Lynn, ever been so humiliated? Wade, make your move, Marcus said in a low voice. Wade, sitting in the passenger seat, nodded and pushed the car door open. The Lynn Syndicate members followed close behind him, heading straight for the Reed compound. According to their intel, the Reed family was currently weakened, with virtually no combat personnel on site. Crash! Wade kicked the gate open, raising his rifle and quickly scanning the area. He looked left, then right, a flicker of confusion on his face. Where was everyone? Was the Reed family really this short-staffed? Click, clack, click. Marcus followed behind them at a leisurely pace. TCH, no gatekeeper at the Reed estate tonight. What's wrong? Why have you all stopped? Marcus asked, annoyed. What were they all doing, bunched up like this? With a crowd of them blocking the way, he couldn't see what was happening. And Mr. Lynn, Wade's voice trembled from the front of the group. What is it? Spit it out. Marcus was getting impatient. He pushed his way through his men to the front. And what? What are you trying to say? Marcus finally reached the front, his words catching in his throat. His eyes widened in disbelief. Anthony Reed? TCH. No respect. Is that any way to address your elders? Anthony Reed had a cigarette dangling from his lips, his expression one of pure disdain as he looked at Marcus. Surrounding him were dozens of men in black suits, all holding firearms. Without exception, every barrel was aimed at the Lynn Syndicate members. A single red landed squarely on Marcus's forehead, the telltale sign of a sniper. Under the moonlight, the color drained from Marcus Lynn's face. How could this be? Why are you here? Marcus stared at Anthony, then pointed at the men in black. And who are they? I remember the Reed family having no one like them. Ha. Anthony chuckled, running a hand through his hair. The Reed family under Julian certainly doesn't have these men. A sharp glint flashed in Anthony's eyes. After all, a father can't just hand over the entire family business to his son all at once, can he? Julian knew of these men, of course, but he had no authority to command them. They had always been with Anthony, operating in New York City. It was only out of desperation that Julian had asked his father and his men to return. And non, impossible. Marcus was breathing heavily, unwilling to accept the reality before him. If the Reed family had this kind of power, how could they still be a fringe family? Anthony rubbed his temples, a hint of annoyance in his voice. I told you, the Reed family you know is Julian's Reed family. Got it? The next second, he stubbed out his cigarette and flicked it to the ground. Do it. Hot tot tot tot. The men in black squeezed their triggers. Bullets flew, tearing through the Lynn Syndicate members. Arg! Mr. Lynn, save me. Mr. Lynn! Screams filled the air. By the time Marcus snapped out of his shock, Wade and the others were lying in pools of their own blood. Marcus's eyes were bloodshot. He didn't look at the corpses on the ground, but stared blankly at Anthony Reed, forcing the words out. Why? Didn't you kill me? Before you came, I gave your father, Cyrus Lynn, a call, Anthony said with a grin. He asked me to spare your life. The condition? He owes me a favor. Cyrus Lynn. Marcus froze, repeating the name. A moment later, he looked up, his eyes burning with hatred. He is not my father, the Cyrus Lynn who abandoned his family, abandoned his kin, to become someone else's dog, is not my father. Anthony was silent. He had nothing to say about that. Everyone makes their own choices and has to live with the consequences. That was all there was to it. You should go. If you stay any longer, I might change my mind, Anthony said, lighting another cigarette and taking a satisfying drag. Marcus didn't hesitate. He turned and walked away. Venting was one thing, but letting emotion cloud his judgment was another. His life, no matter the circumstances, was the most important thing. Pride and dignity were secondary. Watching Marcus's retreating back, Anthony smacked his lips with a hint of regret. If Marcus had let his emotions get the better of him, rejected Cyrus's plea, and told him to go ahead and kill him, well, he would have killed him. It would have been no loss to him. Anthony turned to go back inside, but he stopped short. He saw a familiar figure. Well, now, what wind blew you here? Anthony turned back, his eyes narrowing slightly. Director Jensen. The great Director Jensen. The newcomer was indeed Director Jensen. He stood alone outside the reed gate, his brow furrowed as he took in the scattered corpses. I could hear those gunshots from a mile away. What gunshots? I was just setting off some firecrackers to celebrate. It's not every day you find a good son-in-law, Anthony said with a smirk. Director Jensen stared at him for a long moment, then let out a deep sigh. He stepped into the compound. Anthony Reed, you haven't changed one bit. You've changed quite a bit, though. As Jensen drew closer, Anthony offered him a cigarette and grinned. After the Manhattan incident, I thought you were done for. I never expected to see you walk out of that hole of an office again. So what? Still chasing that utopia of yours? Jensen shot him a glare, but didn't reply, walking straight into the house. Anthony watched him go, shook his head with a smile, and said to one of the men in black, "Clean up the yard." Then, he followed Jensen inside. Few people knew that the two men were old friends who had worked together for many years. Talp, talp, talp. Ava Reed was sitting on the sofa. Hearing footsteps, she immediately turned around. "Dad, what happened?" "I heard gunshots." Her voice trailed off when she saw Director Jensen. "Ava, this is your Uncle Jensen. You met him when you were little. You've probably forgotten." Anthony's voice came from behind Jensen. "Uncle Jensen?" Ava was confused. Where did this uncle suddenly come from? Director Jensen glanced at Ava, his expression unreadable. After a moment, he said flatly, "In the future, you should keep that little boyfriend of yours in line. With the style of doing things, he's bound to get into serious trouble sooner or later." Ava. "Hey, Jensen, what's that supposed to mean?" Anthony was not pleased. "My son-in-law is brave, brilliant, and handsome, just like I was back in the day. Just like you were back in the day, a first-class chaos magnet." Jensen sat down on the sofa, rolling his eyes at Anthony. "Go to hell, Jensen." Anthony threw a cushion at him. "Ava, you go back to your room. Your Uncle Jensen and I have some things to sort out." Anthony rolled up his sleeves and waved for her to go upstairs. Ava blinked. She was completely lost. What in the world was going on? As soon as she was back in her room, she heard the sound of a full-blown brawl erupting downstairs. Meanwhile, on the Crucible, Leo and his group had reached the ruined city. In the ruined city, inside a dilapidated house, Leo stood by a second-floor window, binoculars in hand, observing the situation in the distance. Whoa, there are a lot of them. Through the binoculars, Leo could see dozens of Foam Alliance members setting up camp in a central, abandoned plaza. Several large tents were pitched around the perimeter. In the middle, a bonfire burned brightly, illuminating the small area. "I don't see Victor Foam or Rose." Leo frowned. "Are they inside the tents?" "Leo, maybe we should just go," Kane said, squatting beside him, still not ready to give up. "If they're in the tents, we can't get a shot. Let's go back and regroup." Leo sighed softly and looked back at Captain Crunch, who was nestled in Marco's arms. Send the squirrel to scout? No. Even if he knew which tent Foam and Rose were in, he couldn't shoot through the canvas. Not unless the system gave him X-ray vision. We need to find a way to lure them out. Seeing Leo ignoring him and lost in thought, Kane buried his face in his hands in despair. He didn't hear a word I said. The kid was completely fixated on starting a fight. He remembered when he first met Leo. The boy hadn't been like this. Where did it all go wrong? Kane couldn't figure it out. "King, I have an idea," Marco said weakly, raising his hand. Before Leo could respond, Kane looked at Marco in disbelief. "Seriously, dude? You're offering suggestions now?" Little did he know, Marco's thought process was simple. Since they couldn't fight Leo, they might as well do their best to make his insane plan work. If it worked, they wouldn't have to die. Oh, what is it? Leo asked, intrigued. I am just offering a small suggestion, Marco said cautiously. We don't necessarily have to fight them directly, right? For example, couldn't we try to take out their supplies? The moment he said it, Leo's eyes lit up and Kane's heart sank. Yes, Leo exclaimed. We can't hit the people, but we can blow up their survival resources. And an explosion like that will definitely draw out Victor Fong and Rose. Then I can just pick them off, one shot each. Leo clapped his hands together. It's a solid plan. Dude, their supplies are guarded. How are you going to blow them up? Kane asked. The old-fashioned way. Leo raised his eyebrow. Have you forgotten? The suburbs. He pointed at the ground. A factory. He pointed at the distant tents. A rat. He pointed at Captain Crunch. Kane's eye twitched. He felt like those 3 words were now permanently etched into his DNA, impossible to erase. Marco just looked confused, having no idea what Leo was talking about. It was too abstract. You're amazing, Kane. The king says something that abstract, and you can still understand him. Marco took the opportunity to flatter him. Shut up, Kane said, his face dark. If you had lived through that ridiculous night, you'd understand too. Kane took a deep breath, looking around. But we don't have any explosives. Leo just grinned, took off his backpack, and unzipped it. Kane and Marco peered inside. Holy shit, Kane gasped. Leo's backpack was stuffed to the brim with explosives. Nothing but explosives. A cold sweat broke out on both their foreheads as they looked at Leo in terror. This bastard had been walking around with them this whole time, carrying a bag full of C4. If they had run into any trouble, if a stray bullet had hit his backpack. Marco suddenly glanced at Captain Crunch in his arms with a newfound respect. He remembered that Leo had carried the squirrel in that same backpack, which meant Captain Crunch had spent hours nestled in with a pile of explosives. Are you a demolitions expert? Kane hissed. Carrying that much C4, aren't you afraid of getting blown up? What are you talking about? It's your own family's C4. You don't trust it? Leo asked, surprised. I don't understand why you trust it so much, Kane thought. Leo grinned and was about to take out the explosives when he suddenly froze. He looked at Captain Crunch, and he looked at the C4 in his hands. Then he compared the two. Shit, Leo slapped his thigh. I miscalculated. One squirrel can't carry this much C4. Squeak, my fault? Captain Crunch nibbled on his chestnut, looking puzzled. What do vedo? Leo looked at Kane at a loss. The last time, at the factory, he had a whole team of rat brothers helping out. Now, he only had one squirrel who obviously couldn't move this much weight. How the hell should I know? Kane snapped. Why were you asking him a question like that? Leo blinked and asked Captain Crunch, do you have any relatives or friend around here? Squeak? Captain Crunch was baffled. Do you hear what you're asking? Or maybe an ex-girlfriend squirrel who lives on this island? Captain Crunch fell silent. He was now convinced that Reggie was right. This human was crazy, and maybe we could have him make multiple trips? Marco suggested. A chestnut immediately flew through the air and beat him on the head. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Captain Crunch chattered angrily at Marco. Marco didn't understand, but Leo did. The squirrel was swearing a blue streak. Even Kane couldn't help but look at him and mutter, you need to retake elementary school, but this time, focus on common sense. Was that a suggestion a human could even make? With that much C4, you wanted to run back and forth? It would be dawn before he was done. And squirrels had rights, too. They needed rest. You couldn't just use them like a pal from Pal World. Just give it up, Leo, Kane pleaded. We're at a dead end. There's no other way. Hold on, I have another idea. Leo held up a hand, cutting him off. How many more insane plans can you possibly come up with? Kane fell exhausted. He looked out the window, his expression one of utter defeat. Life was hard. Kane sighed. You guys wait here. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back, Leo said, and before they could respond, he was gone, running down the stairs. 2 men and a squirrel were left stunned. Kane had a very bad feeling. 2 hours later, Leo returned, appearing before them. The jaws of Kane and Marco dropped as they stared at the large creature Leo was holding in his arms, rendered utterly speechless. Hey, let me introduce you. This is my new friend. Leo proudly held up the small raccoon. His name is Nicholas Rocket. Chitter, hello? The raccoon waved its paws, greeting Kane and Marco. Kane stared blankly at the small raccoon, a single thought running through his mind. It's a shame Leo isn't running a zoo. Okay, in a minute you're going to put on this pack, run over there, drop it, and then get out of there as fast as you can. Leo strapped the pack full of explosives onto the raccoon, asking thoughtfully, is it too heavy? I can take some out if it is. Chitter chitter, no problem. The raccoon, now wearing the pack, gave Leo a surprisingly human-like okay sign with its paw. Marco watched from the side, completely dumbfounded. Wasn't this supposed to be reality? Since when did we live in a cartoon? Captain Crunch had already been sent out to scout. As soon as he found the tent where the Phones were storing their food, Rocket the raccoon would be deployed. He'd strap on the explosives and get the job done. Kane looked at the raccoon, frowning. He's pretty big. Won't the Phones spot him if they're not blind? Relax, old man, Leo said calmly. Rocket will drop the C4 and run. The Phones will definitely come over to check what's in the bag. Once they get close, I'll take one shot, and boom. Wipe them out in one go. Not long after, Captain Crunch returned, having located the supply tent. The greedy squirrel had even managed to bring back 2 bananas, one for himself and one for Rocket. Chitter chitter, thanks. Rocket took the banana from Captain Crunch and, without even peeling it, devoured it. All right, let's get this show on the road. Leo clapped his hands and pointed into the distance for Rocket. See that? The 3rd tent from the left. That's your target. Chitter chitter, got it. Rocket leaped into action, the pack of explosives on his back, and sprinted toward the phone camp. Leo watched his retreating figure, secretly wiping away a tear. He's so brave. I'm gonna cry. They had only known each other for 2 hours, and yet Rocket was willing to undertake such a dangerous mission for him. You got this, Rocket. When we get back, I'll treat you to the finest food and drink, Leo muttered. Kane and Marco, meanwhile, sat off to the side, playing with Captain Crunch. They had stopped trying to talk Leo out of it. They were past the point of no return. Besides, they weren't even needed for this operation. Leo was handling everything himself. Kane glanced at the distant Phone members with a flicker of pity. This would be the 2nd time the Phones had been blown up by Leo. Same method, same approach. The target was still the Phone Alliance, and the source of it all was still Leo. Kane sighed. He was starting to believe in fate. Maybe Leo was just born to be the Phone family's nemesis. And mine, he added silently. Leo set up his sniper rifle at the window, held his breath, and watched Rocket's progress through the scope. After a while, Rocket finally reached the Phone camp. Huh, what's a raccoon doing here? For real. And it's carrying a big pack. One of ours. He's kind of cute. Let's catch him and pet him. Hey, why is he heading for the supply tent? Rocket stood up on his hind legs, looked around, and then, to the astonishment of the Phone members, ran to the entrance of the food tent, deftly dropped his backpack, and then fled in the opposite direction like his life depended on it. Everyone stared, stunned. For a moment, no one knew whether to chase the raccoon or inspect the backpack. What the hell was that? One of the Phone members said, stepping forward to check the bag. However, just as his hand was about to touch the backpack, the sound of a gunshot echoed from the distance. Flump! A bullet cut through the air, striking the backpack with perfect accuracy. A brilliant flash of light erupted before everyone's eyes. Before they could even react, a massive roar filled the air. Boom! The explosives detonated. The handful of Phone members nearby, along with the entire food supply tent, were engulfed in the inferno. Shit, it's explosives. Put out the fire. Save the supplies. All our food is in there. Get in, save what you can. Find water now. The camp descended into chaos. Victor Phone and Rose had been in a tent, planning their next move. The explosion and the shouts of their men startled them. They instantly stood and moved toward the tent flap to see what was happening. Victor reached out to open the flap. A Phone member saw him and screamed, "Boss, don't come out. There's a sniper." Flump! Victor froze. A bullet whizzed past, grazing the tip of his nose and leaving a searing pain. If not for that man's warning, which had made him hesitate for a fraction of a second, the bullet would have hit his temple. Cold sweat dripped down Victor's back. He had just been a hair's breadth away from death. TCH. Missed. From the 2nd floor window, Leo clicked his tongue, about to squeeze the trigger for a second shot. However, Rose, who had been standing behind Victor, had clearly seen the bullet's trajectory. She instantly calculated the direction of the shot. "Get back," Rose shouted, yanking Victor back into the tent. Then, she pulled out her own sniper rifle, rolled out of the tent, in one fluid motion crouched, raised her rifle, and aimed in Leo's direction. Without even looking through the scope, she decisively pulled the trigger. Crack! The window next to Leo instantly shattered, the bullet flying just over Kane's head. Flump! Leo didn't flinch. He fired back, but Rose's shot had thrown him off. His target was still Victor Phone. He didn't have time to re-aim at Rose. He could only calculate Victor's approximate position inside the tent. The moment he fired, without even waiting to see if it hit, he dodged to the side. In that same instant, a bullet landed exactly where he had just been standing. Rose again. With just her second shot, she had pinpointed his exact location. Leo glanced at the bullet hole in the window frame, swallowed hard, and yelled, "Kane, we can't win. Retreat." He grabbed the shell-shocked Kane and Marco and was the first one down the stairs, sprinting away. Damn it, she's a hacker. Leo hadn't expected the woman named Rose to be this good. The first shot was a no-scope, a blind shot. It had almost taken Kane's head off, though there was some luck involved. The second shot, if Leo hadn't reacted instantly, would have gotten him. The 15th-ranked mercenary on the Hero Index. Terrifying. Only now did Leo understand the weight of that title. He was out of his league. "Leo, you son of a bitch." Kane roared as he ran. "I told you not to come." The bullet flying over his head just now had nearly made him piss himself. "I didn't know she was really that good." Leo shouted back over his shoulder, running at the front with the sniper rifle slung over his back. Besides, it wasn't a total loss. At least we destroyed their food supply. "Will you two stop talking?" Marco was on the verge of tears. He clutched Captain Crunch and glanced back, seeing a massive swarm of Phone Alliance members closing in on them. The explosion had made them the most conspicuous target on the entire island. 30 minutes earlier, on the other side of the ruined city. "Mr. Reed, are we really not looking for the tree anymore?" "To hell with the tree. Knowing that old bastard, I doubt the tree even exists," Julian muttered, then added, "Right now, the priority is to find that idiot Leo. Otherwise, there's no telling what he might do." His group moved cautiously through the ruined city, their progress slow. The area was almost entirely occupied by the Phones. If they were spotted, a fight was inevitable. "Mr. Reed, are you sure Kane and the others will come here?" one of his men asked doubtfully. "They will," Julian said with absolute certainty. "Since Leo said he was coming, he'll be here, even if Kane gets on his knees and begs him not to." "I don't think Kane would be that desperate. Regardless, our objective is to find Leo. Before he does anything drastic, we need to tie him up and dump him at the edge of the island." Isn't that a bit cruel?" "Letting him stay here would be cruel to me," Julian said flatly. The group continued to approach the central plaza where Victor Phone was camped. Julian was certain he would get there before Leo, since he was already near the edge of the ruined city. "We'll wait here. Lay an ambush," Julian commanded, his expression grim. "The moment you see Leo, don't give him a chance to open his mouth. Take him down, tie him up, and throw him off the island." His men nodded, though internally they were skeptical. It was just one guy, Leo. How much trouble could he really cause? Mr. Reed was letting his personal feelings get in the way. Boom! Suddenly, a deafening explosion roared from the distance. They all whipped their heads in that direction. "I remember that area. Isn't that the Phone's main camp?" one man said, his mouth twitching. "What's going on? Did the Phone camp just get blown up? Infighting? Or an accident?" Julian frowned, staring at the distant glow of the fire, a sense of foreboding creeping into his heart. Just as he opened his mouth to say something, a familiar voice echoed from around the corner ahead. "Kane, you son of a bitch, run faster. They're catching up. I'm damn well injured. How am I supposed to run faster? Will you two stop talking? I can't run anymore." Squeak, squeak, squeak. Julian swallowed hard, his body trembling slightly. In no way. It couldn't be. Leo's group shouldn't have gotten here before him. He must be hearing things. Soon, the figures of Leo and his companions appeared around the corner, all of them running for their lives. Terrified of Rose's sniper rifle, their escape route was a zigzagging mess of turns and corners. "Hey, Julian." Leo spotted the figures ahead and froze for a second. Julian was also frozen, his eyes wide, his jaw clenched. Ooh, what the hell did you do now?" Julian screamed, on the verge of a breakdown. Kane, running behind Leo, clutched his side, gasping for breath. "Julian, no time to explain. Just run," he shouted as he passed. Julian snapped out of his stupor and started running with them, still not understanding what had happened. "And Mr. Reed," Marco quickly explained. "The king, Mr. Evans, he blew up all of the Phone's food supplies. Now the entire Phone Alliance is trying to kill him." Hearing this, Julian didn't hesitate for a single second. He grabbed his men and bolted in the opposite direction. They went their separate ways. The men who had just been questioning Julian's paranoia didn't dare say another word. They just put their heads down and ran. At the same time, they had a newfound understanding of Leo Evans. This guy absolutely could not be allowed to roam free. "And Mr. Reed," Marco called out, confused as to why they were running in that direction. Julian spared a glance over his shoulder and shot Marco a glare. "Don't call my name. You guys run your own way. Follow your precious king. Run as far as you can. And stay the hell away from me. I'm not ready to die yet. With that, Julian ignored Marco and sprinted with everything he had. It was the fastest he had run since setting foot on the island. He had no choice. This wasn't just one or two people chasing them. It was the entire Phone Alliance, with that monster Rose among them. The thought made Julian's head spin. I shouldn't have come. He was filled with regret. He should have just let Leo self-destruct. Let him cause trouble. And now look what happened. He had drawn the attention of the entire Phone Alliance. Wait. Julian suddenly looked up, his eyes shining. The Phone Alliance's attention was now entirely on Leo, and Rose was chasing him too. Holy shit, this is the perfect opportunity. Julian turned to one of his men. Quick, use the walkie-talkie and tell the other teams to converge on the ruined city. We're going to hit them with a counterattack. We're taking down the Phone's main camp. Julian could barely contain his grin. This was his chance to go big. As for Leo, he'd be fine. Julian was confident he could hold out. King, Kane, and I can't run anymore. Marco gasped. Both of their speeds had dropped significantly. Leo glanced back while still running, confused. Why are you two following me? I'm our only target. You two could just pick a direction and run, can't you? The curses on the tip of Kane's tongue died in his throat. I was worried you couldn't handle it alone, you idiot. Let there's strength in numbers. Fine. Let him self-destruct. The moment they reached the woods, Kane immediately veered off in a different direction. Marco, after handing Captain Crunch back to Leo, silently followed him. Hey, you guys. Leo's eyes widened. They just left? Without a word? Not even a quick goodbye or a good luck staying alive? Damn it. Leo cursed under his breath. He looked behind him. The Phones and Rose had reached the edge of the woods. So you like a chase, huh? Leo's jaw set. He leaped onto a tree branch, set up his sniper rifle, and took aim. Thwump. A bullet flew, hitting the foremost Phone member between the eyes. He dropped instantly, blood spraying. The shot halted the pursuing group in their tracks. They all looked toward the woods with uncertainty. Shit, a sniper. Rose's brow furrowed. She immediately fired a shot in Leo's direction, then took cover behind a tree, her expression grim. A miss? Rose was puzzled. The next second, another bullet shot out from the woods, taking down another Phone member. Rose seized the opening, firing again toward the source of the shot. Crack! Another miss. He missed again? Rose frowned. Deep in the woods, Leo leaned against a tree trunk, a smile playing on his lips. So you like sniper duels, huh? I may not be as skilled as you, but you don't have a moronic system, do you? Thwump, thwump, thwump. In the dead of night, Leo and Rose continued to trade fire. Every shot Leo took, without exception, claimed the life of a Phone Alliance member. And every shot Rose aimed at Leo, without exception, missed. Damn it, Rose cursed under her breath. She knew why this was happening. Visibility. With Leo hidden in the dark woods, Rose couldn't get a precise lock on him. For one, there was no light. The forest was pitch black, making her shots no different from firing blind. The other reason was that with every shot Leo fired, he would immediately move to a new position before the bullet even hit its target, never staying in one place. Rose turned to the men holding flashlights and shouted, "You few, turn off your flashlights. Now." Right now, they were nothing but sitting ducks to Leo. Thwump, another gunshot, another Phone member down. Now everyone understood the situation. They quickly switched off their flashlights and scrambled for cover. Rose hid behind a tree, frowning. This couldn't continue. She needed to send men in. Just as she was about to order a charge, another shot rang out. Thwump. Arg. A Phone member who hadn't found cover yet was taken down. How is that possible? Rose exclaimed. In a pitch-black environment, the sniper could still maintain such a high level of accuracy. Who was this person? Could he be one of the top 10 assassins on the Hero Index? For a moment, Rose hesitated. In the woods, Leo looked at the bullets in his hand with some frustration. 5 rounds left. He regretted not stuffing some extra ammo in his backpack before setting out. Now he was running low. He turned and looked at the pursuing forces in the distance. Thanks to his enhanced physiology, his vision had been strengthened to the point of near-night vision. Damn it, if I had infinite ammo, I could take them all out myself today. Leo was annoyed. 5 rounds were barely enough to do anything. For now, he had to retreat. Otherwise, once his bullets were gone, he'd be a general without an army. While they were still disoriented, Leo packed up his sniper rifle, nimbly jumped to the ground, and ran deeper into the woods without looking back. Outside, the pursuers waited for a long time, but there were no more gunshots. Rose instantly realized what had happened. He must be out of ammo. You few get in there and search. Rose pointed at a Phone member, her voice decisive. The man hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and stepped out from behind his cover. Sure enough, no shot came. Turn on your flashlights and chase him. He's out of ammo, he won't shoot, Rose commanded. In a pitch-black environment, they would likely never catch him. She didn't know why, but Rose was certain the man could move freely in the dark. He was probably wearing night vision goggles. At her command, flashlights clicked on, illuminating a small patch of the forest. Rose followed close behind them. The feeling Leo gave her was deeply unsettling. If she didn't catch him today, she probably wouldn't be able to sleep. The chase was back on. In the woods, a weary Slade felt his way from tree to tree, moving slowly through the darkness. Damn it, that bastard sniper. Slade gritted his teeth. Because of those 3 shots, he had been pinned behind that tree until nightfall before he dared to test the waters again. Only then did he realize Leo was long gone. He had stood there for half a day like an idiot. Worse, he had only planned on a short patrol during the day before returning to base, so he hadn't brought any lighting equipment. Now he was forced to feel his way through the dark. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Suddenly a sound came from ahead. Slade immediately went on alert. Who's there? From that direction, Leo heard Slade's voice and froze. In the darkness, Slade couldn't make out Leo's appearance from a distance. But Leo could see Slade's face perfectly. His mouth twitched. Dude, you're still here. You didn't actually stay under that tree until night, did you? Quick, he can't have gotten far. The voices of the pursuing group came from behind him. Leo glanced back and could faintly see the glow of flashlights. He looked behind him. Then he looked at Slade a short distance away. And suddenly, he had a bold idea. Leo raised his hands high above his head and slowly walked towards Slade, shouting, Captain, don't shoot. It's me. Hearing himself addressed as Captain, Slade relaxed slightly, but his nerves tensed again at Leo's next words. Captain, the Reeds are after me. Get to cover. The Reeds launched a counterattack. They ambushed us. They've got a large force sweeping the woods for us now. Slade's eyes widened as he looked past Leo. A dozen beams of light from flashlights cut through the darkness. With Leo backlit, Slade couldn't see his face. Someone in the pursuing group saw Leo's silhouette and fired without hesitation. Bang! The shot was wild, missing completely. But that one shot was enough to convince Slade that Leo was telling the truth. The Reeds really had attacked. Get down! Slade roared at Leo. He raised his own assault rifle and, the moment Leo dropped to the ground, opened fire on the foe members. Tot. Ambush. Find cover. Slade's shots made the foes think they had run into reinforcements. Captain, be careful. They have a sniper, and he's good. Leo yelled as he crawled forward, warning Slade. Slade's head snapped up, his fist clenched. A sniper. A good one. From the Reed family, his enemy. It all added up. The sniper who had pinned him down during the day had to be in that group. At that moment, old and new hatreds surged through Slade's mind. I was looking for you, and you just walk right into my hands. Slade's eyes were dark with malice. He poked his head out and fired another burst. Tot. Thwack. A bullet slammed into the tree he was hiding behind, just inches from his face. The shot startled Slade, sending a cold sweat down his back, but it also solidified his conviction. That accuracy, it had to be him, the sharpshooter from this morning. In his experience, the only person with that kind of skill was either the sharpshooter from the morning or Rose. But would Rose shoot at him? Of course not. There was no reason. Therefore, the person on the other side had to be that sniper. It all fit. It had to be him. In the woods, faced with the overwhelming firepower of the pursuing forces, Slade was powerless. Even though he was a captain in Donovan Vance's unit, he couldn't forget that Rose was on the other side. All he could do now was fire a few shots, change position, fire a few more, and change position again. It wasn't completely useless, but it wasn't doing much either, Leo noted internally. Captain, where's your walkie-talkie? Calling the boys. Leo shouted from a nearby corner, knowing full well the answer. Slade's face flushed. My walkie-talkie. I accidentally lost it. He was too embarrassed to admit it had been destroyed by a sharpshooter. Otherwise, the fact that he had been pinned down for hours might come out. He was a captain, after all. He had a reputation to maintain. Hearing his lie, Leo smiled to himself, but his voice was filled with tragic resolve. Captain, we can't hold him off. You go. I'll cover your retreat. Despite saying this, Leo remained where he was, with no intention of providing any cover. He didn't even bother to fire a few token shots. No, we leave together, Slade said firmly. He didn't know which of his squad members this was, but since he called him captain, he was one of his own. He, Slade, would not abandon a teammate to cover his own escape. Seeing this, Leo gritted his teeth and shouted, "Captain, then you hold on. I'll go get the boys to back you up." "Good. Huh?" Slade was confused. He turned and saw the man just running away. "Captain, 3 minutes. Hold on for 3 minutes. I will definitely be back with the boys." Leo didn't forget to shout back, reassuring him. 3 minutes? Slade looked at the group in the distance, then at the single grenade left on his belt. He clenched his jaw and roared back at Leo, 3 minutes. I will get you 3 minutes. You have to bring the boys back and wipe out these Reed family bastards. Leo didn't reply. He just put his head down and ran. Hearing Slade's words, he thought to himself, "Yeah, I'll bring you back a pile of jack shit. You just hold on. I'm out of here." With Slade's help, the pressure on Leo was significantly reduced. Not long after he started running, he heard a massive explosion behind him. He stopped and looked back. Damn. Leo clicked his tongue, somewhat moved. He hadn't expected Slade to actually use a grenade for him. He was so brave. I'm gonna cry. Now, copy. Are you still alive? The walkie-talkie crackled to life with Julian's voice. Leo, still running, pulled out the device, annoyed. How many times do I have to say it? Use my code name during the operation. How am I supposed to know your code name? Call me Burrito King. Or just King is fine. Fine. What's your status? Leo glanced back. The sound of gunfire had faded. Well, let's just say I ran into a good Samaritan on the road who helped me get away. Huh. Julian was stunned. In a situation like this, someone dared to help him? Did they have a death wish? But if Leo had escaped, it was undoubtedly a good thing. Listen, we've gathered our forces and are about to hit the phone's main camp. So, you need to keep that woman, Rose, busy. Julian, you son of a bitch. Leo cursed. What do you think I am? I just got away, and now you want me to go back and find that woman. I believe you can do it. I'm not doing it. I've only got 5 bullets left. What am I supposed to do with that? I figured. That's why I sent you some ammo. What are you talking about? How did you send? Leo's words were cut off by a rustling sound from nearby. Chitter, found you. Rocket the raccoon's head popped out of a bush, his nose twitching as he sniffed the air. Seeing Leo, he waved his little paws excitedly. Then, to Leo's stunned silence, he ran up and dropped a backpack at his feet. Chitter, for you. Rocket pointed at the bag. Leo silently opened the backpack. Inside was a pile of sniper rifle bullets and a few small explosives. So, did Rocket get it to you? Julian's voice came through the walkie-talkie again. I just ran into that little guy. Kane told me he's a friend of yours. I figured you were probably low on ammo, so I tentatively asked if he could make a delivery. I didn't expect the little guy to be so smart. He just grabbed the bag and took off to find you. Leo was silent. At that moment, he suddenly understood how Kane felt. So this is what it was like for him, seeing me talk to rats. A damn raccoon making deliveries. What? Do you have a system too, Julian? Chitter. The raccoon excitedly gestured at Leo, explaining that Julian had given him lots of tasty treats. Thwop. Leo gave Rocket a light rap on the head. So you were bought off with a few pieces of fruit? Staring at the ammo in the backpack, Leo sighed softly. He picked up the walkie-talkie. Let's be clear. I'm only holding off Rose. No problem. Just keeping her busy is enough. You guys better be quick. Don't worry. We'll be there to support you as soon as we can. Leo hung up, a sharp glint in his eyes. If Julian and his crew were slow, he might just have to take care of Rose himself. A whole backpack of bullets was more than enough for him to play with. Put it on. Come with me. Leo had Rocket shoulder the pack again. Facing Rose, carrying a heavy bag would affect his mobility. He might as well use Rocket as a tool, his own personal mobile armory. Meanwhile, with the pursuing forces, Rose's eyes were ice cold as she looked at Slade. Explain, she said flatly. Slade was on his knees, his face flushed, his head bowed, his fists clenched tightly. That one grenade of his had wiped out nearly a fifth of their pursuing force. After his ammo ran out and he was captured, he finally realized he had been fighting his own people the whole time. That bastard. Slade cursed under his breath. He understood now. He had been played like a fiddle. The guy who had called him captain was the real enemy, and he had been foolish enough to treat him as a teammate to cover his retreat. Slade began to explain. Bang! Rose fired without hesitation, the bullet tearing through Slade's arm. Arg! Slade cried out in pain, his eyes wide as he stared at Rose. I'm not killing you so that Mr. Vance can deal with you personally, Rose said coldly. Because of you, he got away. Slade clutched his bleeding arm, his voice low. I understand. Rose gave him one last deep look and turned to leave. Let's go. Chasing Leo now was like finding a needle in a haystack. Slade took a deep breath and shakily got to his feet. Before he could straighten up completely, A familiar gunshot rang out again. Thwump! A bullet pierced the back of Slade's head. He collapsed to the ground, his eyes wide open. He was dead. Rose whipped her head around, staring in disbelief in the direction the bullet had come from. Is he insane? He actually dared to come back and kill someone? Inside Victor Fang's command tent at the Foam Alliance encampment, sweat beaded on his forehead. He grit his teeth, enduring the medic's work as they extracted the bullet. The final, unaimed shot Leo had fired through the tent before disappearing had caught Victor square in the side. Luckily, the angle was shallow, and the bullet hadn't penetrated deeply. Clang done. The medic dropped the slug into a metal tray, then swiftly wrapped Victor's wound with bandages to stop the bleeding. Victor gasped for breath. At his age, that had been a close call. Just then, someone threw open the tent flap and rushed inside. Boss, we've done a full inventory. We have almost no food left. The remaining supplies. How long will they last? Victor's voice was low. At minimum consumption. Less than 2 days. The news that they only had 2 days hit Victor like a punch to the gut. He clenched his fists, his eyes bloodshot. Have you found out who did it? The man shook his head. We suspect it was the Reeds. Bullshit. Victor roared. You think Julian Reed has that kind of skill? You saw it yourself. That man not only detonated the explosives, but also managed to nearly kill me with a shot through the tent while Rose had him pinned down. And the only sniper the Reeds have is Kane. So you're saying this was all Kane's doing? The man fell silent. The Foam Alliance and the Reed family have been fighting for years. Everyone knew what the other was capable of. Kane didn't have that kind of talent. Boss, bad news. Another man scrambled into the tent, breathless. Julian Reed is rallying his men. They're heading straight for us. What? Victor shot to his feet, ignoring the searing pain in his side. He ground his teeth. Everyone, prepare for battle. He hadn't expected Julian to be so decisive. But then again, it made sense. Once Julian Reed saw an opportunity, he never let it go. Boss, all our men were sent after that sniper. Get on the radio. Call every single one of them back. Yes, sir. Deep in the woods, the Foam Alliance pursuit team received the order and began to pull back. Rose, hiding behind a tree, frowned. Where are you going? The boss ordered us back to provide support. Damn it, you're not going anywhere. The Foam men ignored her, retreating steadily to reinforce Victor. Shit. Rose cursed under her breath, but there was nothing she could do. She wasn't Victor Foam, and she wasn't Donovan Vance. She had no authority over these men. In moments, the unit of several dozen had dwindled to just 8 people, including Rose. The other 7 were from Donovan Vance's private force. Slade had been their captain. With him dead, they were leaderless. Rose took a deep breath. It was just the 8 of them now, facing that ghost of a sniper. From a distance, Leo watched through his scope as Rose's predicament unfolded. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. TCH. I was only supposed to deal with Rose. Looks like I'm tying up another 7 of Julian's problems for him. I'll charge him 10 grand ahead. That's 70,000 I need to collect from Julian later. Add that to Ava's fee, and I'll clear 170,000. Leo's eyes lit up. The Shrine of Fortune really did deliver. It had only been a few days, and he was already racking up the cash. Holding his breath, Leo kept his scope trained on the group of 8. If a single one of them made a wrong move, he'd deliver a Bull Express. Familiar people, familiar scene. The only difference was that this time, there were 8 of them in timeout. You 7 on my command, Rose instructed them. As a sniper herself, she knew exactly how terrifying their opponent was. To kill him, sacrifices would have to be made. Rose took a deep breath, crouched low, and gave one of the 7 men a sharp look. The man understood. He closed his eyes in despair, then slowly peeked his head out from behind cover. Bang! Leo sent him on his way. Rose seized the opportunity, sprinting a long distance in Leo's direction. Even while running, she managed to fire a shot back at him. Her aim was off, the bullet missing him by a fair margin, but it was close. Whoa! Leo yelped, immediately changing position. Rose was already behind another tree. The distance between them had closed significantly. This woman, she wanted to get in close? Leo frowned. She couldn't win a sniper duel, so now she wanted to try hand-to-hand? She was even willing to use her teammates as bait, forcing him to fire and create an opening. TCH, ruthless, Leo thought, marveling at her cold-bloodedness. Not far off, Rose glanced back and gave a subtle wave of her hand. Another man broke from cover, running toward Leo, firing as he charged. A pure kamikaze run. Fuck! Leo cursed but didn't hesitate. He swung his rifle around and fired again. Bang! Another one down. He had no choice. He knew Rose was intentionally forcing his hand, but he had to take the shot. Otherwise, that kamikaze would be right on top of him. The opening created by a shot allowed Rose to close the distance again. Worse, Leo noticed that as she got closer, her shots became more accurate. The time he had to relocate after firing was getting shorter and shorter. Rose took a deep breath. There was another critical reason for her strategy. She was betting that Leo was out of ammo. After the long chase, she was almost certain his bullet count was low. They had 8 people. There was no way Leo had more rounds than that in his rifle. And he had already wasted one on Slade. A glint of steel flashed in Rose's eyes. As far as she was concerned, Leo had 5 rounds left in his rifle. At most. And she still had 5 men she could use. After sacrificing another man, Rose advanced again. This position is close enough. You should have 4 bullets left, max. Rose calculated. At this range, with her skill, a kill was guaranteed. She pulled out her radio and ordered the remaining 4 men to move together. Bang, bang, bang. The last 4 kamikazes burst from behind the trees, firing wildly. Rose leaned against her own tree, her eyes cold, silently counting Leo's remaining shots. Bang. 1 man fell. 3 left. Bang. Only 2 were still standing. 2 left. Bang. Only 1 was still standing. 1 last bullet. Bang. The final man dropped to the ground, dead. Now, Rose's eyes flashed. She raised her sniper rifle and whipped around the tree. A cold smile spread across her face as she aimed forward. The game was over. However, before she could steady herself, the smile froze on her face. Her eyes went wide. Her index finger, about to pull the trigger, seemed to lock in place. Not 2 meters in front of her, Leo was standing with a pistol aimed right between her eyes. Hey, we've been dueling for a while. Nice to finally meet you, Leo said with a brilliant smile, as if greeting a long-lost friend. How is that possible? Rose's lips trembled. She didn't understand. Why had Leo gotten so close? Confused? Shocked? Can't figure it out? Leo watched the stunned Rose, a grin spreading across his face. No wonder protagonists in novels loved playing the wolf in sheep's clothing. This feeling of showing off was seriously addictive. Why? Rose lowered her rifle. There was no point in struggling now. Leo would shoot long before she could pull her own trigger. Take a guess, Leo said with a sly smirk. You have a partner. Someone else was firing just now. Rose speculated. She trusted her ears. The shots she'd just heard were clearly from a distant sniper rifle. The sound hadn't changed at all. It had to be someone else firing from far away, while Leo used the opportunity to sneak up on her. To her surprise, Leo shook his head. No. Rose frowned. Then, she saw the sniper rifle slung across his back. Her pupils contracted. How could that be? The rifle was still on him. 2 snipers? She guessed again. Nope. From start to finish, it's just been me. Impossible. I wouldn't have misheard. The sound was clearly, bang. The familiar sound of a gunshot echoed, and Rose's words died in her throat. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Leo was holding back a laugh, pinching his own throat as he made the sound with his mouth. Bang, 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 bang. Is that the sound you heard? Leo asked mockingly. Ever since Kane had taught him voice-changing techniques, he'd spent his free time experimenting with new ways to use the skill. And it turned out Leo had a real talent for it. Simply mimicking the sound of a sniper rifle and adjusting the volume based on the distance to make Rose think it was far away, that was child's play for him. Kane couldn't pull off this trick. Without enhanced physiology, his vocal cords would shred. This was, for all intents and purposes, a custom skill Leo had created. Custom skill, vocal mimicry. It was vocal percussion. Rose clenched her fists. She never imagined she'd be defeated like this. That's right. You wanted to get close, and I happen to want the same thing, Leo said with a smile. But you looked like you were having a hard time running, so I decided to come to you. You could say we were both working toward the same goal, right? My ass we were. Rose's gaze was icy. Behind her, the bodies of the assault team lay in pools of blood. Then why didn't I hear the shots when you fired at them? Oh, that. Leo grinned and gestured to the sniper rifle on his back, revealing the muzzle. The suppressors the Reed family makes are pretty decent. Rose looked, then let out a soft sigh. You use your mouth to mimic the sound of a sniper rifle, covering the noise of your real shots. Impressive. I have to admit, in all my years dancing on the edge of life and death, I've never seen a tactic like this. Oh, who are you? Rose stared at Leo's face. It was too unfamiliar, too young. I've met everyone in the top 10 of the Hero Index. I've met everyone on the assassination list, too, except for the one ranked number 1, the Ghost. Are you the Ghost? In her mind, only a top 10 operative could possess this level of skill with a firearm. Hearing this, Leo nonchalantly glanced at the hand she was slowly moving behind her back. A smile played on his lips. He didn't answer, just looked at her quizzically. What are you talking about? What hero index? What list? I have no idea. If you don't have anything else to say, I'm going to shoot. Before Leo could pull the trigger, a vicious gleam flashed in Rose's eyes, and her hand moved faster. She had a grenade hidden on her. All the talking had just been a ploy to lower his guard. Since she couldn't escape, she would take him with her. Rose whipped her hand from behind her back, holding something up as she stared him down and screamed, "Then let's die together." The words had barely left her mouth when she froze. This feeling, it wasn't right. Leo couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. "You want to take me out with that?" Rose stared blankly at the object in her hand. It was a chestnut? Where did this chestnut come from? Where was her grenade? Her perfectly good grenade. Where did it go? She looked up at Leo, about to speak. But Leo seized the moment of her confusion and, without hesitation, fired. Bang! A single bullet, dead center in her forehead. Bang! 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 Just to be sure, Leo put a few more in her. Ooh! After it was done, Leo let out a long breath. Finally dealt with. Squeak, squeak. Mission complete. Captain Crunch appeared out of nowhere, holding a grenade, presenting it to Leo as if asking for a reward. Now this is good stuff. Leo took the grenade and stuffed it in his pocket. Rose had been stalling for time, but so had he. It was his first time facing such a formidable opponent, and he was worried she might have another trick up her sleeve. So while they were talking, he'd sent Captain Crunch on a little thieving mission. He had to admit, Captain Crunch's talent for larceny was off the charts, even by his standards. He had swapped the grenade for a chestnut without her noticing a thing, as expected of a creature who hung out with squirrels. Leo gave Captain Crunch a thumbs up. Ping! Congratulations, host, for completing a hidden objective. You have received a hidden objective reward. Drawing hidden objective reward, please wait. The system notification sounded, and Leo's eyebrows shot up. Finally, system. That whole time I couldn't hear your voice. It felt like I had ants crawling all over me. I was shaking. Leo was a little excited. How long had it been since he'd gotten a new skill? He'd practically worn out the old ones. Come on, give me something good. Please wait a moment. So slow, Leo grumbled. Did you run out of skills? Are you trying to steal one from another system? After a long wait, the system's voice finally returned. Hidden reward drawn. Congratulations, host. You have received one skill upgrade opportunity. Would you like to use this opportunity? A skill upgrade will randomly combine existing skills to create a new, more powerful skill. After the system finished, Leo stood there, stunned into silence. A moment later, he stared with dead eyes and shouted in his mind, "System, I am here. Be honest. You couldn't give me a new skill, so you're just fobbing me off with this, aren't you? Would you like to use the skill upgrade opportunity?" The system asked, completely avoiding his question. Can I choose which skills get upgraded? No. The skill upgrade will randomly combine your existing skills and enhance them. You son of a bitch. You already decided what you're giving me, didn't you? Leo's voice was agitated. This was as rigged as it gets. He demanded a drug test for the system. Activating skill upgrade opportunity. So you're not even pretending anymore. Huh? Just skipping the whole process. Skill upgrade successful. Rigged. Obligated fix. How can an upgrade be that fast? Congratulations, host. Through the skill upgrade, you have acquired the Apex tier skill, Gale Force. System, you motherf. Leo's curse stopped dead in his throat. Huh? An Apex tier skill? System, you beautiful son of a bitch. I love you, ha ha. Leo's expression flipped in a second, his smile utterly fawning. System, keep talking. The system ignored Leo's apology. Not that Leo cared. He was too busy excitedly examining his new skill. Apex tier skill, Gale Force. So this fused combat mastery and firearms mastery together. Leo toyed with his pistol. It didn't feel any different than before. Special reminder, Gale Force is an active skill and must be consciously activated by the host. Leo frowned. Don't tell me this thing has a time limit. Gale Force will consume the host's physical capabilities to the maximum extent. Based on the host's current physical condition, it is recommended that activation time does not exceed 10 minutes. Otherwise, you will be responsible for the consequences. You're kidding, right? Leo griped. I have enhanced physiology, and I can only last 10 minutes? The system went silent again, ignoring him. Leo just sighed. Well, he had the skill now. Might as well make do. To test out the power of this Apex tier skill, he activated Gale Force. Holy shit. The moment he activated Gale Force, Leo's entire aura changed. His understanding and application of firearms were on a completely different level. If he were to face Rose again now, he could have killed her with a single shot from across the crucible. Blind shots? He could pull them off effortlessly now. Most importantly, Gale Force seamlessly integrated combat mastery and firearms mastery. Is this even humanly possible? Leo did a quick test and found that, in this state, he could fire with pinpoint accuracy even while moving at high speeds or engaging in close-quarters combat. The gun has become a part of my body. That was the only way he could describe it. He felt terrifyingly powerful. He could probably make 10 roses cry. Gale Force, deactivate. Instantly, a wave of exhaustion washed over him. Sweat poured down his face, and he panted slightly. That was only about 3 minutes, and it drained that much stamina. Leo frowned. Just activating the skill for a quick test had tired him out. In a high-intensity battle, 10 minutes was likely his absolute limit. Still, Leo wasn't disappointed. If the system had a physical form, he would have grabbed it and kissed it. This skill was insane. Who the hell can beat me now? Leo was brimming with confidence. No matter who it was, as long as he activated Gale Force, he was invincible for 10 minutes. What happened after 10 minutes was a problem for later. Right now, he just wanted to fight. Illo, Julian, come. Julian respond. Leo pulled out his radio and started hailing Julian. After a few tries, Julian's voice crackled through. What is it now, Leo? Where are you guys fighting? I'm coming to back you up. Support? Don't worry about it. Just keep Rose busy. I already took care of Rose. If you took care of her, then just... Wait, what did you say? Julian's voice shot up several decibels. You took care of Rose? By yourself? Yeah, by myself. Squeak, squeak. The hell you did? Captain Crunch protested. Leo shot him a glare. What are you squeaking about? Not a person. Rocket wasn't a person either. Therefore, he had taken care of Rose by himself. Leo, are you sure she's dead? Julian asked, his voice laced with disbelief. Positive. I even put a few extra in her for good measure. There was a long silence on Julian's end. Finally, he spoke again. Come on over. We're west of the Phone Alliance base camp. Julian clicked off the radio, feeling like his world had been turned upside down. Kane walked over from a short distance away, holding a pair of binoculars. He'd been watching the Phone encampment and hadn't heard the conversation. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Leo just radioed me, Julian said numbly. What, couldn't he handle it? Kane's expression turned serious. Rose is no joke. It's normal for him to be in over his head. You want to take a few guys and help him out? No. Julian shook his head, looking Kane straight in the eye. He said, word for word, Leo said he took care of Rose. The atmosphere went still. Kane blinked, then reached out and felt Julian's forehead. The stress is really getting to you, man. You're starting to hallucinate. Julian didn't say anything, just stared at him. Don't joke around. How could Leo possibly kill Rose? She's number 15 on the Hero Index. Julian remained silent. Kane swallowed hard, a bead of sweat tracing its way down his temple. It's not true, is it? Do you think Leo would lie to me about something like this? What the hell is that kid? Kane felt like his brain was short-circuiting. He could understand Leo being a skilled fighter. He could even accept that he was a good sniper. That stuff required talent, after all. And talking to squirrels. That was a little weird, but Kane had managed to rationalize it. But now Leo had killed Rose, number 15 on the Hero Index. By himself. Yeah, he said he did alone. You believe him? You don't. I don't dare to. Kane clutched his head, waving his hands in front of Julian as if trying to grasp the idea. He's... Kane was nearly incoherent. He's not even 20 yet. No matter how you slice it, that's just insane, right? Kane pointed at the Phone Alliance forces in the distance. If this keeps up, is he going to take on their entire army by himself? Julian frowned, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He probably wouldn't go that far, right? He took a deep breath. Forget about Leo for now. The priority is to take down the Phone Alliance. With Rose dead and Victor Phone seriously wounded, the tide has turned. As he said it, Julian paused. Looking at it that way, the Reed family was about to win? Just like that? How many days had it been? He had been prepared for a 2-week-long war of attrition with the Phones. He'd barely eaten any energy bars, and it was already over. It felt like a dream. But then again, this was Leo he was talking about. In that case, it was time to press the attack and wipe out the Phone Alliance in one fell swoop. Just as Julian was about to give the order for an all-out assault, Marco came running over, his face a mask of panic. Mr. Reed? Mr. Reed? Julian's heart skipped a beat. Had something else gone wrong? What is it? It's bad. Marco Pontiff. I just ran into the Burrito King. Now, he's here already. Julian asked urgently. Where is he? He asked me where the phone alliance forces were located. And? You told him? Yes. After I told him, he charged into their battle lines by himself. Marco's face was twisted in despair as he yelled. I swear, I couldn't stop him. At his words, Julian and Kane froze on the spot. After a long moment, they both spoke at the same time. You said he what? The battlefield in the ruins of the Crucible, where the Feng and Reed forces clashed, had reached a fever pitch. Gunfire echoed everywhere. The Reed family forces were fired up, their morale soaring. The Feng Alliance, on the other hand, was showing signs of a desperate last stand. With Rose gone and Victor Feng seriously wounded, the morale of the Feng Alliance had taken a massive hit. On the Reed side, the men were so confident they could even spare a moment to chat. Come on, brothers, one more push. The Feng bastards are about to break. Hey man, I'm out of ammo. Cover me, I'm gonna go grab some more. Shit, how many times have you gone back for ammo? Are you using a minigun? Shut the hell up. I'm hit. Medic, patch me up. A medic treating the wounded heard this and whipped his head around, roaring, patch your ass. Every last one of you is charging in like you've got a death wish. You think I can keep up? He was at his wit's end. For the last hour, he'd done nothing but wrap bandages. His hands were about to fall off. The resentment from the medics in the rear could have powered a supervillain's lair. A bunch of morons. You got no clue what you're doing. Get shot twice, run back to get patched up, then run right back out to get shot twice more. Like you've never been in a fight before. Yeah, I'm talking to you. This is your second time back, ain't it? If you live, you live. If not, tough shit. I ain't treating you. And you, put that rifle down and go get 2 more boxes of bandages before you go get yourself killed. They cursed and treated the wounded, their hands and mouths never stopping. Over on the Feng side, anyone carried to the rear was never seen again. They were in all likelihood toast. From a distance, Leo quickly reached the battlefield using the location Marco had given him. Whoa, this is a total rout. It was the first time Leo had seen just how crazy the usually fun-loving Reed family members were on the battlefield. They fought with near-suicidal abandon. TSK. No wonder the Feng Alliance and the Lin Syndicate never dared to face Julian head-on. Leo shook his head in amazement. They were relentless. As far as he could see, almost every Reed family member was wrapped in thick layers of bandages. The more bandages they had, the more ferociously they fought. It made Leo wonder if the bandages were laced with stimulants. Arg! A cry of pain caught Leo's attention. A Reed family member went down shot. A second bullet was already closing in on him. If it hit, he was dead. Without hesitating, Leo activated Gale Force. His eyes locked onto the incoming bullet. Bang! He pulled the trigger, and a bullet shot from his pistol. Clink! Bullet hit bullet. The trajectory shifted, and the second bullet slammed into the ground beside the wounded man. Mister! Now, it's Leo. Holy shit, that was awesome. That single shot alerted many of the Reed family members to Leo's arrival. Some had seen it with their own eyes and couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Leo gave a slight nod. Cover me, he said coolly. Time in Gale Force was precious. No time to explain. It was time to show off. With that, Leo shot forward like a gust of wind, charging toward the Feng Alliance forces. Holy crap. Is that even humanly possible? Don't just stand there. Give him covering fire. Stay sharp. If anything happens to Leo, the young miss will have our heads. Hold on. Let me get a picture. Mister, Leo looks so badass right now. I can sell it to the young miss for a high price later. Shit. If you sell it, we split the profits, or we'll report you for not focusing on the battle. Under the effects of Gale Force, Leo's speed and dynamic vision were massively enhanced. While he couldn't dodge bullets, he could anticipate and avoid most of them. And with his erratic movements, the Feng forces couldn't get a clean shot. They were stunned to see a single man charging them. Who was this guy? And who gave him the balls to charge an entire army by himself? Instantly, most of their firepower shifted to Leo. Shit, who is that? Fire. Prioritize him. Can't hit him. He's moving too fast. Grenades. Use grenades. Hearing this, one of the men pulled out a grenade. The moment he pulled the pin and raised his arm, a bullet arrived as if on cue, detonating it instantly. Boom! The grenade exploded, throwing the Feng battle lines into chaos. What happened? Why did the grenade go off? It was that guy. He just fired, someone shouted, pointing at Leo. Bullshit. You think he can shoot while moving that fast? And hit a grenade with perfect accuracy? You think he's Rose? Even Rose couldn't do that, could she? Regardless, Leo had now single-handedly drawn the attention of the entire Feng force. Seeing this, The Reed family members fought as if they'd been injected with adrenaline. They abandoned cover, stood up, and just started firing. They didn't know why Leo was so incredible, but their job was clear. Cover him and let him stay incredible. Let's go, brothers. Victory is at hand. Keep up with Mr. Now. You guys go on ahead. I'm gonna go get some more ammo. You motherfucker. Out of ammo again. Didn't you just get back? Leo was closing the distance with the Fong forces, firing continuously and taking down several men along the way. His brow furrowed. He suddenly changed direction, diving behind cover and gasping for breath. Oh, Leo gritted his teeth, wincing as he looked at the series of bloody scrapes on his body where bullets had grazed him. Got cocky. The moment he activated Gale Force, he'd gotten a rush of adrenaline and just charged in without thinking. It turned out Gale Force wasn't a cure-all against that dense wall of bullets. He really hadn't dodged that many. If it weren't for his luck, the bulletproof vest he was wearing, and his last-second adjustments to let the bullets graze him, he'd be a block of Swiss cheese by now. Shit, one in the side, one in the leg. The pain made Leo suck in a sharp breath. Thank God for enhanced physiology, which gave him superhuman resilience and recovery. Otherwise, he would have passed out from the pain. He hated pain. Leo mentally slapped himself, never showing off like that again. It wasn't fun at all. Mr. Leo, are you all right? The Reed men grew worried when they saw him suddenly take cover. Hearing them, Leo quickly shouted back, I'm fine. Just tired from running, taking a quick break. Mr. Leo, you didn't get hit, did you? Leo glanced at his wounds and forced himself to say, Don't worry, I'm not hit. Their aim is so bad they couldn't touch me. He'd started this charade. He had to see it through, no matter how much it hurt. Otherwise, how could he maintain his reputation in the Reed family? The Reed men heard this and shouted in genuine admiration. Mr. Leo is a badass. After shouting back to the Reed family, Leo sucked in a sharp breath. He immediately deactivated Gale Force. He had to rest for a moment. He really couldn't take much more. Brothers, Mr. Leo is fine. Let's keep pushing. Follow Mr. Leo's lead. Now. He glanced back and felt his soul leave his body. The Reed family members were fighting like madmen, not even bothering with cover. They just stood up and let loose. Even the medics weren't staying in the rear anymore, cursing as they followed the main force, ready to drag away anyone who fell. Are you kidding me? Leo was stunned. He quickly yelled, Don't charge so hard. Let's fall back, hold the line for a bit. At this rate, they were going to charge right up to his position. Then they'd see he was shot, and his cover would be blown. One of the Reed men heard Leo shout and roared back excitedly, Brothers, Mr. Leo wants us to cross the line. Go all out. What are we waiting for? Full assault. In Leo, we trust. Julian could take a back seat. Dude, I got that on video. Standard rate, 20 grand. What? I thought it was 200. Consequences are different. If Mr. Reed hears that, you're in for a treat. Shit. Leo, I also say shit. Are you guys brain dead? I said hold the line, not cross the damn line. If you don't want your ears, just sell them at the market for $2 a pound. Before Leo could figure out what to do, Julian and Kane finally arrived. As for Marco, he was out of stamina. Ever since meeting Leo, he'd been running nonstop and was now collapsed back at the Reed camp. The moment Julian and Kane arrived, they froze. Julian's jaw dropped, his brain short-circuiting. How had the battle devolved into this? Kane, I seem to remember my orders were for them to fight a war of attrition, right? Julian stammered. I remember. It was probably something like that, Kane replied without blinking. The two of them stared silently at the Reed family's suicidal tactics, lost in a profound silence. This was a war of attrition? Who the hell fights a war of attrition like this? The Fong Alliance forces were being completely overwhelmed. The hell are the Reeds on drugs? We can't hold them. Their firepower is too intense, and they don't care about casualties. I can't fucking believe this. What kind of army only attacks and never defends? Shut up. Didn't you see their medics are on the front lines? That's insane. Who has medics firing and wrapping bandages at the same time? All of you shut up, a sharp voice roared. Victor Fong arrived on the battlefield, his face grim. Things had reached a point where, despite his injuries, he had to take command. He nearly fainted from rage the moment he saw the situation. They were being completely steamrolled like a grandpa beating his grandson. Stop panicking. Reform your lines and target their medics. They're not afraid to die, so we can't be either. Anyone who chickens out, I'll shoot them myself. Victor's words had an effect. Under his command, the Fong forces gradually found their rhythm. The Reed family's advance slowed, and the pressure on them increased. Julian saw this and frowned. The Fongs are regrouping. Call them back, have them set up a defensive line. Kane was about to shout the order when a figure suddenly reappeared in everyone's line of sight. Leo was moving again. Seeing the Reed forces were getting close enough to see him, Leo panicked. He grit his teeth, reactivated Gale Force, and charged out again. Shit, that monster is back. How's he not dead? Fire, open fire. The moment Leo reappeared, the rhythm the Foam Alliance had just found instantly shattered. They couldn't help it. The shock and pressure Leo brought were too immense. Who could see a madman like that charging at them and not open fire? Victor Foam was dumbfounded. Who is that? Leo's movements were too fast. Victor couldn't even make out his silhouette, let alone his face. Bang, bang, bang. Leo fired as he moved, each bullet unerringly taking out target. If not for the wall of men in front of Victor, Leo could have ended the battle with a single shot. Seeing this, the struggling Reed family forces erupted in cheers. Hoorah! They charged again. The battlefield was filled with the sounds of gunfire and the conversations of the Reed family. Haha, this is awesome. I've been with Mr. Reed for so long, and I've never had this much fun. Say no more, Mr. Leo is a badass. I used to think Kane was pretty cool, but now he just looks like a chump. I gotta say, our young miss has a good eye. She picked a hell of a man. In the rear, Kane and Julian stopped in their tracks. Their faces were terrifyingly dark. These ungrateful bastards. Julian seethed, his fists clenched. You used to chant Mr. Reed is a badass. You used to praise my strategy and invincibility. Now one Leo comes along, and you stop stroking my ego? Kane's face was just as black. Seeing Leo's ridiculous performance, he had originally wanted to offer some praise himself. Now, he didn't want to say a word. He just wanted to punch someone. I think. They're itching for a beating, Kane suggested, his face a stony mask. When we get back, we need to restore some discipline to this family. Yes, I agree, Julian nodded. We've been too lenient with them. But with Leo back in the fight, he didn't need to call a retreat. Everyone advance, Julian roared. This is our chance. Wipe out the Foam Alliance in one go. Hearing Julian's voice, the men spared a glance behind them and immediately broke into a cold sweat. Holy shit, Mr. Reed and Kane are behind us. When did they get here? Did I say anything I shouldn't have just now? Who are you looking at? This is a battlefield. Do you turn your back on the enemy? Kane yelled, then grabbed a rifle and charged forward himself. I want to see which one of you rabbit-livered cowards dares to look back again. Stand straight and fight. Especially you. Weren't you the one who just said I was nothing compared to Leo? Open your goddamn eyes and watch. Leo couldn't dream of matching my marksmanship. With that, Kane attempted a display of high-speed shooting. Bang, bang, bang. He fired several shots. Without exception, every single one missed. Kane's mouth twitched. It's this hard? He'd seen Leo do it, and it looked so easy. He figured he could at least land a few shots. In reality, he couldn't even tell where his bullets were going. Kane, sir, should I go get you some more ammo? One fearless soldier asked. The way you're shooting, it's honestly a bit of a waste of bullets. Hearing this, everyone gave the soldier a thumbs up. A true hero. He said what they were all thinking. Go in peace. We will remember you. Kane's face flushed red with embarrassment. It's perfectly normal for me to miss, he said defensively. I'm a sniper. This isn't my area of expertise. He held up the assault rifle. You probably don't understand, but the feel of an assault rifle versus a sniper rifle. Kane, for God's sake. Julian roared from the rear, cutting him off. Are you giving a lecture right now? Ahem. Kane shrank back and shut his mouth, shooting a death glare at the soldier who had spoken up. I'll deal with you later. Julian was on the verge of exploding. It was best not to provoke him. At the front lines, Leo was carrying the entire team. A one-man army. But it was only temporary. His time with Gale Force was running out, and his performance was already starting to dip. Hearing Kane's voice, Leo spared a glance back, and his eyes lit up. He quickly found cover and yelled back at Kane. Kane, catch my rifle. With that, he hurled Kane's sniper rifle with all his might. The rifle sailed through the air in a perfect arc, landing squarely in front of Kane. Kane stood frozen, staring at the rifle before him. So familiar, yet so foreign. His first thought was, it's a shame Leo never played basketball. He picked up the rifle, a wave of emotion washing over him. He almost wanted to cry. Ever since Leo had shown up, his sniper rifle had become Leo's personal property. He barely got a chance to even touch it. Kane, aim for Victor Foam. I'll create an opening for you. At Leo's words, Kane's expression hardened. He immediately found a suitable position and set up the rifle. With this one shot, he would re-establish his status as the Reed family's top gun. He absolutely could not miss. Through the scope, Kane found Victor Foam. He swallowed hard, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Damn, that's kind of far. This had to be over 1,000 meters. Kane started to panic. At his skill level, his effective range maxed out at around 1,000 meters. Beyond that, the bullet drift was insane. He was starting to regret catching the rifle. But Leo didn't care about Kane's internal struggle. From his perspective, this distance should be a piece of cake for Kane. He had forgotten that he was judging by his own standards. Even without gale force, just with firearms mastery, Leo's effective range far exceeded 1,000 meters. So he assumed this would be simple for Kane. Looking at the surrounded Victor phone, Leo took a deep breath. Then, he pulled the grenade he had swiped from Rose out of his pocket. As he did, he nearly jumped out of his skin. There was a faint score mark on the grenade, shallow, but clearly from a bullet that had nearly hit it. Lucky I didn't explode on the spot. Leo patted his chest, a wave of fear washing over him. He shot a look at Kane and gave him a hand signal. It's time. Leo reactivated gale force and charged out again. While drawing everyone's attention, at a moment when no one was watching, he lobbed the grenade high into the air. Its landing point was the area centered on Victor phone. He didn't pull the pin. He didn't need to. When Leo played with explosives, he only had one method of detonation, a bullet. Leo's eyes were locked on the grenade. As it reached the perfect spot in its descent, he fired. Bang! The bullet cut through the air and struck the grenade with perfect accuracy. Boom! The sudden explosion caught the phone forces completely off guard. The men protecting Victor were all thrown to the ground, several of them killed instantly. Victor himself was hit by shrapnel, his body covered in blood. Now! Leo roared. King didn't hesitate. He held his breath, centered the crosshairs on the downed Victor phone, and pulled the trigger. Bang! This shot would end the battle. The bullet traveled over 1,000 meters, streaking toward Victor phone. But as Leo watched its trajectory, he knew something was wrong. It's off. That hack Kane missed from this distance? Just as Leo thought the shot would go wide, Victor phone, gritting his teeth, managed to shift his position slightly. He thought he was about to be hit by a sniper and was trying his best to dodge. He had no idea that his movement put him directly in the path of the bullet. Thwack! The bullet pierced Victor's forehead. His eyes flew open, as if in disbelief that this was how he would die. Then, his consciousness faded. Victor Feng's eyes went dark, and he collapsed to the ground, gone. Kane saw it and pumped his fist in the air. Hit! He stood up and immediately found the soldier who had mocked him earlier. See that? Kane said excitedly. That shot that killed Victor Feng? That was me. Didn't I tell you snipers were my specialty? You think that kid Leo can make a shot like that? I'm the one who wins battles. The man gave him a dead-eyed look and said dismissively, Yeah, you're the man, Kane. If you don't need anything else, I'm going to go back and help out over there. He turned and walked away, leaving Kane with nothing but his retreating back. Huh, that's it. Kane stood there stunned. He could feel it. He was no longer the Top Gun they all admired. Mr. Leo is a badass. In Leo we trust. If Mr. Leo hadn't risked his life to draw their fire, you think Kane would have had a chance to take that shot? When it comes down to it, we won today all because of Mr. Lao. The Reed men weren't even calling him Kane, sir, anymore, just Kane. At this rate, he wondered if they'd stop calling Julian Mr. Reed too. With Victor Feng dead, the Feng Alliance forces, without exception, threw down their weapons and surrendered. Their leader was dead. What was the point of fighting on? What about the honor of the family? Don't be ridiculous. How much was that worth? It had to be said that while Victor Feng had propped up his family for years, he had lost its most important element, its soul. Julian watched this unfold with a slight smile. The ones who surrendered, kill them all. Bang, bang, bang. A few gunshots later, the Feng Alliance was no more. Julian shook his head slightly. Surrender? What a joke. This was the Crucible. There is no such thing as surrender. There is only one way to get out, annihilate the other side completely. After the last Feng member fell, Julian directed his men to start treating the wounded. He looked around, a question forming in his mind. Where was Leo? Mr. Leo, just hang in there. This, almost done. Ow, ow. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. In a hidden corner, a Reed family medic was digging a bullet out of Leo. The cool and collected image he'd projected earlier was gone. He was wailing in pain, tears streaming down his face. Out there, with everyone watching, he had grit his teeth and endured it to maintain his image. Now that he was alone, he let it all out. Wah, it hurts so much. Leo whimpered, looking at the slugs the medic had removed. The pain of having a bullet taken out was on a whole other level compared to getting shot. Actually, Mr. Leo, if you were worried about the pain, we could have used an anesthetic, the medic said awkwardly. What? Leo froze, then yelled, Why didn't you say so sooner? You dragged me over here so suddenly. I didn't bring any anesthetic with me, the medic stammered. Besides, after seeing how fearless you were out there, who would have thought you were so scared of pain? The contrast was just too stark. At that, Leo's expression suddenly turned cold. He reached out and gripped the medic's shoulder, leaning in to whisper in his ear. What happened here today never happened. Got it. Mister. Leo, what are you referring to? I wasn't shot. You never treated me. And I'm not afraid of pain. Understand. The medic's mouth twitched as he looked at the dense layers of bandages wrapped around Leo's body. This is what you call not being shot. Who would believe that? If you tell anyone. Leo's smile turned sinister. He said, word by word, I guarantee you will spend the rest of your life on mine and Ava's little list. The medic's eyes widened in terror. A demon. Those were the words of a demon. It was the most vicious curse he had ever heard. He swallowed hard and stammered, I understand. Good. Leo was very satisfied with his response. Go back and find me a coat. A big one, where it won't cover all these bandages. Yes, sir. The medic straightened his back, his attitude toward Leo now even more respectful. He ran back to the camp, silent the entire way. No matter how the other Reed family members greeted him, he just kept his head down. He found a large coat and ran back to Leo. Swish! Leo shrugged on the black coat and nodded in satisfaction. Well done. So, I was hoping you could put in a good word for me with the young miss, the medic said with a fawning smile. No problem. Leo waved his hand, and the two of them returned to the camp. As they arrived, they happened to see Alex Young and a team from the Bureau of Syndicate Oversight talking with Julian. Leo's brow shot up, and he quickly ducked out of sight. His official identity was still a BSO psychologist. If they saw him here, his cover would be blown. Leo, stop hiding. Come on out, Alex said. He'd already spotted Leo, and he sighed with a hint of resignation when he saw him try to hide. Did he really think the BSO was staffed by idiots? After causing such a massive stir in the Crucible, they had already dug into his background. Of course, the whole Burrito King affair hadn't been exposed yet. For now, all the BSO knew was that Leo had ties to the Reed family. Hearing his name, Leo peeked his head out awkwardly. Ahem. Oh, really? He walked out and gave the BSO team a little wave. A long time no see, everyone. He spotted Tank in the crowd and said in surprise, Hey, big guy, you're here too? Tank's mouth twitched. He had a very vivid memory of Leo. His legs still ached just thinking about it. I never would have thought Dr. Evans was one of the Reed family's people, Tank said, his face a stony mask. Hey, don't slander me. Leo tilted his head and pointed at Tank. I'm just dating Julian's sister. That doesn't make me a member of the Reed family. Julian heard this and shot Leo a glare. He remembered when Leo used to respectfully call him Julian. Now it was just Julian this, Julian that. All his manners were gone. Oomph. Tank snorted and said no more. If not for Director Jensen's orders, he would have already gone after Leo. Of course, he knew he couldn't win. The BSO team had all witnessed Leo single-handedly tear through the Foam Alliance forces. The only way to describe it was inhumanly powerful. Mr. Reed, let's leave it at that for now. We'll discuss the details when we get back, Alex said, then led his team to start clearing the battlefield. As he passed Leo, Alex paused and whispered in his ear, Director Jensen wants you to come see him when you get back. Leo raised an eyebrow. What does Jensen want now? He had just finished up here, and now Jensen was starting something else? No way. He was not going. Leo made up his mind. As soon as he got back, he was taking Ava home for some quality time together. He wanted to spend all day fighting when he could be cuddling with his girlfriend. Ping. Congratulations, host, for completing the Apex tier mission, the Ethelberg conflict, drawing random Apex tier reward. Leo's lip twitched. Can we just skip the process and you give it to me directly? The system already knew what skill it was going to give him, but it insisted on pretending it was a random draw. Reward drawn. Congratulations, host. You have acquired the Apex tier skill, Undying Pact. Huh. Leo's mouth fell open. The skill this time was insane. Undying Pact sounded ridiculously powerful. With this skill, I'll never die. Leo asked the system in his mind. Undying Pact can help the host avoid death once. Avoid death? What does that mean? It means you have 2 lives. The system sounded exasperated. Why is it so hard to explain things to you? That's it. Leo was a little disappointed. He thought it would be some kind of immortality skill. If he were truly immortal, he might still have a shot at splitting the heavens with a sword. He could practice every day for 10,000 years. When he finally emerged, he would be a god. He'd already imagined the whole thing, and all he got was an extra life? Whatever. Better than nothing. Leo reluctantly accepted the skill. Just then, Julian walked over. He looked Leo up and down, his eyes lingering on the large coat. How many times were you hit? He asked, an eyebrow raised. Leo was shocked. How could Julian tell? What do you mean, hit? I was just cold. Looks like the injuries aren't too serious. Julian nodded. Seeing Leo's stubborn denial, he didn't press the issue. As long as he was okay, that's all that mattered. Otherwise, he'd have a hard time explaining things to Ava. Get some rest. We head back to Ethelberg at dawn. With that, Julian went back to organizing the cleanup. Leo let out a soft breath and looked at the sky, which was beginning to lighten in the east. TCH, can't believe we've been gone from Ethelberg for almost 2 days. It was absurd. They had only been in the Crucible for 2 days, and the Foam Alliance was already history. The next morning, on the boat back to Ethelberg, Blairg, Leo was draped over the railing, a look of utter despair on his face. WHY? Blard, why do I still get seasick? Click, click, a chorus of camera shutters went off. Leo weakly turned his head, his pale face captured perfectly by the Reed family members. Leo seasick Evans, a rare and precious photo. Mr. Leo, maybe you should lie down and rest for a bit. Leo's eyes were half-lidded. How much longer until we're back? A long time. Got a pipe or something? Huh. To the astonishment of the Reed family, Leo once again knocked himself out cold. What's going on? Kane frowned, walking over to the commotion. Kane, sir, mister. Leo knocked himself out so he wouldn't be seasick. What? That's absurd. Kane pushed through the crowd and saw Leo lying unconscious on the deck. He stared in silence for a long moment. Then, a mischievous grin spread across his face. Carry him to my room to rest. Yes, sir. A few men helped carry Leo into the ship's cabin. Creak, huh? As they opened Kane's door, the men froze. Inside the room, 2 figures were furtively up to something. The sound of the door opening made the squirrel and the raccoon freeze on the spot. Squeak, squeak. We've been discovered. Chitter, chitter. Someone's here. Captain Crunch and Rocket were holed up in Kane's room, stealing his snacks. The men glanced at Kane's face. It was, as expected, terrifyingly dark. Kane's fist clenched. He took a deep breath. Don't get angry, don't get angry. It's not worth getting worked up over 2 animals. He waved his hand dismissively, shooing the 2 rascals out, and had the men place Leo on his bed. Once he and Leo were alone in the room, Kane glanced around. Then, he slyly pulled something from his pocket. A marker. He wrote 5 big words on Leo's face. Kane is my big bro. Click. After taking a picture, Kane returned to the deck, thoroughly satisfied. He would give Leo a little surprise when he woke up. As for Julian, he was already dead to the world. He had barely slept since arriving in the Crucible, and now that he finally had a chance to rest, he had passed out instantly. Near dusk, Leo groggily woke up. As consciousness returned, so did the god-awful nausea. He clapped a hand over his mouth and rushed outside, leaning over the railing for another round of vomiting. Yo, you're awake, Kane said with a wide grin. We're about to dock. Time to go home. Leo clung to the railing, weakly wiping his mouth. He looked around, puzzled. Why is everyone staring at me like that? Is there something on my face? Nope. Looks perfectly normal, Kane said, his expression completely straight. They're probably just worried about you, seeing how seasick you are. Leo was skeptical. He had a feeling something wasn't right. Just then, Julian emerged from his cabin, stretching with a yawn. Ooh, he breathed out, a smile spreading across his face as he saw the familiar Ethelberg skyline. Finally, he was back alive. He looked over at Leo, feeling a sense of gratitude. He had to admit, the only reason this mission had gone so smoothly was because of Leo. Huh? What were those black letters on Leo's face? Julian raised an eyebrow and walked over. As he got closer, he could finally read the words. Kane is my big bro. Julian shot a sidelong glance at Kane. You little shit. But he didn't say anything. Watching those 2 mess with each other was good entertainment. Soon, the ship was approaching the Ethelberg port. Leo's eyes widened slightly as he saw a familiar silhouette waiting on the dock. Ava, Anthony Reed, and other members of the Reed family were there to meet them. After we set sail, I used the sat phone to tell Ava we won and we're on our way back, Julian said, walking up beside Leo with a smile. The first thing she asked was if you were hurt. He glanced pointedly at the large coat Leo was wearing. Underneath, there were layers of bandages. Let's see how you explain this to her, Julian said, clearly enjoying this. Leo just smiled. Amateur. No one knew that his wounds had already healed while he was asleep. The recovery ability of his enhanced physiology was far beyond that of a normal person. Other than the spots where the bullets had hit, which were still tender, the rest of him was perfectly fine. Oh, what's that? Leo and Julian frowned. The Reed family members on the dock seemed to be holding something up. Looks like A banner. Leo's vision was better, and he was the first to make out the words. He read them out loud, one by one. Welcome home to Ethelberg's hero, our son-in-law, Leo Evans. There was even a poorly drawn, smiley face at the end. For a moment, Leo and Julian were plunged into a profound silence. Ahem. That was probably my old man's doing, Julian coughed, clearly embarrassed. I can't think of anyone else who would pull a stunt like this. Right. Leo didn't know what to say. He was the one who was dying of secondhand embarrassment. Staring at the giant banner with his name on it, he felt an overwhelming urge to activate Gale Force and shoot the damn thing down. Before he could act on the impulse, the banner was taken down. Faintly, he could hear Ava and Anthony's voices. Dad, you idiot. Who told you to make this thing? Get rid of it now. Didn't you say you wanted to welcome them home? I thought this would be a grander gesture. Then why does it only have Leo's name on it? Who cares if the others come back? My son-in-law can't have anything happen to him. Hearing that, Leo mechanically turned his head to look at Julian. Whoa, Julian, calm down. The look on Julian's face gave him a shock. His brother-in-law-to-be had already chambered around and was raising his rifle, aiming at Anthony. Leo quickly grabbed Julian's arm. Calm down, man, you have to calm down. I'm sure Mr. Reed didn't mean it like that. Just as he said that, Anthony and Ava's voices drifted over again. How can you say that? Isn't my brother's life important? Your brother doesn't mean jack shit. Bang! A bullet zipped past Anthony Reed's ear. He whipped his head around to see Julian standing on the deck, the dark muzzle of his rifle pointed right at him. Smoke was still curling from the barrel. Leo was standing behind him, looking awkward. Anthony's last comment had stunned him, and he hadn't been able to stop Julian in time. Julian was gritting his teeth, his hand shaking as he gripped the rifle. You old bastard. I dare you to repeat what you just said. Whoa, when did the boat dock? Anthony Reed broke into a nervous sweat. Ahem. Julian, my boy, it's a misunderstanding. All a misunderstanding. I was just joking around with Ava. He turned to Ava for help. Right, Ava? He was starting to panic. Julian was a ruthless one. He really would shoot. To his dismay, Ava completely ignored him and ran forward. Talp, talp, talp. The sound of her boots on the wooden dock was sharp and clear. The moment Leo stepped off the boat, Ava was running toward him. Ava. Leo smiled, about to say something. Oof. Ava launched herself at him like a rocket, head-butting him squarely in the chest. Then, she immediately started looking him over. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Before Leo could answer, she yanked open his coat. Hey, what are you doing, stripping me in public? Shut up, I need to see. Ava had to check if he was injured. Fortunately, Leo had removed the bandages earlier and changed into a t-shirt, covering the bullet wounds with band-aids. After a thorough inspection, Ava confirmed he was unharmed and finally let out a sigh of relief. She looked up at his face. Why are you so pale? I get seasick. And what are those words? What words? Ava pulled out a small compact mirror and held it up to his face, letting him see the 5 words written there. Ken is my big bro. Leo's face was a mask of astonishment. He whipped his head around, his eyes locking onto Kane with a murderous glare. You little shit. Kane felt Leo's gaze and guiltily turned away, looking up at the sky and whistling nonchalantly. If I don't admit it, it never happened. Ava, you guys have a family group chat, right? Yeah, why? Add me. I have something good to share with you all. Ava immediately pulled out her phone and added Leo to the chat. Once he was in, Leo turned to Kane and yelled, Kane, if you apologize right now, I could be generous and forgive your disrespectful behavior. Apologize for what? What are you talking about? I don't know anything. Kane played dumb. Leo's fists clenched. Fina, you asked for this. He hadn't wanted to leak the video. With a tap of his finger, the video was sent. Back in Ethelberg, the network speed was lightning fast. The video loaded in seconds. It was, of course, the recording of Kane tripping on mushrooms. Read family group chat. Leo, video read family member. Holy shit, save this immediately. Read family member. Is that Kane? Read family member. I can blackmail Kane for the rest of my life with this. A short distance away, Anthony Reed, seeing that Julian had finally lowered his gun, breathed a sigh of relief. He curiously clicked on the video Leo had posted. Kane's voice and face filled the screen. Tell me, what do you see? I see a golden dragon. Doing a TikTok dance, does that dragon look like Julian? You know, it really does, Anthony's phone volume was cranked to the max. Even Kane could hear it. What's that sound? Kane frowned. Why does that sound like my voice? A sense of dread washed over him. Seeing the wicked grin on Leo's face, Kane's heart pounded as he pulled out his phone. And then he saw the video. Leo, you son of a bitch. Kane rolled up his sleeves, ready to go toe-to-toe with Leo. If this video got out, how could he ever maintain his status in the family? How could he protect his position as the top gun? Seeing Kane on edge, Leo instantly transformed into a helpless lamb and hid behind Ava. Wah, Ava, you have no idea. Kane bullied me every day on that island. Leo cried, pointing at Kane with a tear-streaked face. He made me go out as bait all by myself. As soon as we got there, he dragged me off to fight the Foam Alliance. Do you know how terrifying those guys are, Wah? Kane stared in disbelief. You little bastard. I took you to fight the Foams? How can you say something so shameless with a straight face? And there's something else I was too scared to tell you because I didn't want you to worry, Leo said, grabbing Ava's hand, his expression pitiful. He dragged me out in the middle of the night to blow up the Foam family's warehouse. And he made me lie to you and say we were going out for barbecue and drinks. I didn't dare say a word. Leo, you asshole. Kane's eyes went wide. We agreed not to mention that. Ava looked at Leo's performance and found it a little amusing. She knew Leo well enough to guess he was probably just slinging mud at Kane. But Leo was her boyfriend, and Kane had written on his face. That was a fact. Thinking of this, Ava put on an angry expression. Kane, how could you? Kane was so furious he couldn't speak, pointing a trembling finger at Leo. Everything he's saying is a lie. Is it? Ava turned to look at Leo. Leo immediately raised his hand. I swear on my life, if I've told a single lie, I'll never eat cilantro again. Ava suppressed a laugh and nodded, turning back to Kane. Leo swore on it. I believe him. That counts as swearing? Kane was speechless. He could see it now. Ava was completely in league with Leo. It was truly a case of two troublemakers finding each other. Sigh. Kane let out a long breath, resigned to his fate. So what do you want? Ava looked at Leo. A wicked grin spread across Leo's face as he produced a marker from somewhere. What was that saying? Give them a taste of their own medicine. In the end, under the threat of Ava's glare, Kane was forced to let Leo write 5 big words on his face. Leo is my big bro. Leo even added a smiley face for good measure. Was it worth it, Kane? Leo whispered in his ear. You tried to inflict 200 damage and ended up taking 1,000 yourself. Leo didn't understand how Kane had dared. Didn't he know that Leo had enough dirt on him to ruin his life? If he really pushed him, Leo could just walk into the BSO and reveal his pretty boy pistol identity. Kane would spend the rest of his life in a BSO black site. And maybe if Leo was in a good mood, he'd take him out for some fresh air once in a while. Back at the Reed family estate in Ethelberg, Kane went about his duties with a blank expression, the words still on his face. His heart was dead, the light gone from his eyes. He was alive, but he might as well be buried. Socially, at least. The video had spread, and Kane had stopped caring. It wasn't a big deal. If anyone dared to mention it to his face, he'd just shoot them. Brute force was the best way to stop rumors from spreading. Even if it wasn't a rumor. Close enough. Kane wasn't admitting to anything. After returning from the Crucible, the Reed family had a lot to deal with. They had also lost many people who needed a proper burial. In the family's backyard, over a dozen black coffins were arranged in neat rows. Julian's expression was somber. If not for Leo, there would have been many more. A large bonfire burned in the center. The surviving members were burning ghost money and cell phones. Wah, old Wong, rest in peace. I'll make sure to use your VIP card at the bar. Chin man, how'd you get shot? You never gave me your phone. And Gao, he told me where his phone was, but not the passcode. To protect his good name, I guess we'll just burn it with him. Clack, clack. Several phones were tossed into the bonfire along with the ghost money, crackling as they burned. Julian saw this, and his mouth twitched. What are you doing? Can't you be serious? The Reed family never used to be like this. When did burning phones become a tradition? As for Leo and Ava, they weren't participating in this bizarre memorial service. Ava disliked the heavy, mournful atmosphere, and Leo just wanted to cuddle with his girlfriend. After all, everyone dies eventually. As long as they live on in your heart, that's what matters. So, the two of them decided to go out for a late-night snack. They had planned for a nice date, just the two of them, but they had a third wheel. So, why did you follow us? Ava pouted, looking thoroughly displeased. Anthony Reed stood awkwardly before them, running a hand through his messy hair. Is that any way to talk to your great father? You're going out for barbecue, and I can't tag along for a free meal. Why aren't you home? Don't be ridiculous. Julian is trying to kill me right now. That's because of what you said. Ava was getting angry. Sometimes I wonder if we were adopted. Nonsense. What dumpster could possibly fit you two hellions? Anthony immediately shot back. I never said we were found in a dumpster. Seeing that Ava was about to explode, Leo quickly patted her on the shoulder. It's okay, it's okay. We're just getting some barbecue. It's not a big deal to bring your dad along. See, my son-in-law knows how to talk. Besides, it's not like you have a home to go back to right now, Leo added. Huh. Anthony's words of praise died in his throat. He stared at Leo with wide eyes. This kid was a little aggressive. No wonder he was with his daughter. This was a classic case of two villains teaming up. If Leo could hear Anthony's thoughts, he would have felt exhausted. When other people dated, they were a match made in heaven, a perfect couple. When it came to him and Ava, the terms were always in league with each other or villains teaming up. People had a serious misunderstanding. So, thanks to Anthony's thick skin, the three of them ended up sitting at a barbecue joint. Mainly because Anthony said he would pay. At the restaurant, Leo was munching on kebabs and peeling shrimp. And yes, the shrimp was for himself. Don't get any funny ideas. It was only when they were ordering that Leo learned Ava was allergic to seafood. You're allergic to seafood? Anthony asked, shocked. What are you shocked about? Ava and Leo were speechless. It was one thing for Leo not to know, but for her own father to look so surprised? Ava was starting to understand her brother's feelings. Really, just shooting him would be easier. She could do without this father. But since Ava was allergic to seafood, what did that have to do with Leo? He ordered a mountain of crawfish anyway. If Ava couldn't eat it, he would eat it for her. So Leo and Anthony feasted on crawfish right in front of Ava, completely ignoring her feelings. Chomp chomp, damn, Mr. Reed, this garlic crawfish is amazing. Of course. I've been eating at this place since I was a kid. The food is top-notch. You lived here when you were a kid, sir? That's right. I even went to Ethelberg University. Graduated with honors, too. Whoa, so you're my senior alumnus? He never even went to college. Ava thought, rolling her eyes. Her father's lies were so effortless. She took a deep breath and told herself not to get angry. One was her father, the other was her boyfriend. She had to endure it. Oh, by the way, son-in-law, you're part of the Reed family now, right? Leo's hand, holding a piece of crawfish, froze. Mr. Reed, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm just dating Ava. How does that make me part of the family? That's not the right way to look at it. You don't want to marry my daughter. I'm not the one getting married into a family, am I? You look down on the Reed family? Anthony's tone changed, his eyes locking onto Leo. You think the Reed family isn't good enough for you? Just as the atmosphere was about to turn frigid. Ahem. Ava cleared her throat, giving her father a sharp look. Haha, just kidding, son-in-law. Forget what I just said. Feeling Ava's glare, Anthony quickly laughed it off. He knew better than to mess with her. But have you gone to see Jensen yet? Anthony asked. Jensen? Director Jensen? No. Alex Young told me to go see him, though. Are you planning to go? No. I'd have to be bored out of my mind to go looking for him. He probably just has more trouble for me. Anthony chuckled. He never thought he'd see the day when that Jensen would be brushed off by a young man. All right, see him or don't, it's up to you. But he probably knows about what you did in the Crucible by now. Anthony gave him a mysterious smile. At this point, he probably won't be able to resist coming to find you himself. Leo frowned. You know Director Jensen, sir? You could say we're old friends. What does he want with me? Most likely wants you to join the game. After all, your performance was a little too ridiculous. With that, Anthony took off his gloves, stood up, and said, Anyway, whether you accept or not, it's your call. By the way, Marcus Lynn and the Lynn Syndicate have vanished. They probably ran off to NYC, so they won't be a threat to you for a while. I won't disturb your date any longer. I'm heading out. He let out a loud burp, lit a cigarette, and walked away with a swagger, leaving Leo and Ava stunned at the table. Leo watched him go and said numbly, Didn't Mr. Reed say he was going to pay? Did he just dine and dash? Ava sighed and covered her face. I'll get it. It had been 2 weeks since the incident on the Crucible. In that battle, the Fong Alliance had been wiped out by the Reeds, and Marcus Lynn's whereabouts were still unknown. With the BSO's blessing, Julian Reed had used the power vacuum to methodically dismantle the remnants of the Fong and Lynn syndicates. After absorbing their assets and resources, the Reed family had finally earned the title of an Apex family. The Warren Collective, for their part, played deaf, watching silently as the Reeds grew stronger. For the past 15 days, Ethelbert had returned to its peaceful, harmonious state. As for Anthony Reed, on the night of the barbecue, he had fled Ethelbert with his men to escape Julian's retribution. His location was a mystery. No matter how many times Julian called, the phone just rang. 7 in the morning at Leo's apartment. Reggie, go wake Leo up, Ava's sleepy voice called out. Meow. Roger that. Crack. The little white cat kicked open Leo's bedroom door. It hadn't been locked, but still, the damn cat packed a surprising punch. Hopping onto the bed, Reggie started bouncing up and down on Leo's chest. Leo's eyes fluttered open, meeting Reggie's feline face. Meow. Get up. T-Thief. Leo scowled, annoyed. I will punt your furry head in next week. You hear me? Who gave you the guts to kick down my door? I did. You got a problem with that? Ava, clad in adorable Pikachu pajamas, stood at his doorway with her cheeks puffed out. Ever since Leo had returned, the two had officially started living together. Julian had tried to talk her out of it, saying it was inappropriate. He'd only let her stay with Leo before because he thought he might not come back, entrusting his sister to Leo's care. But now that he was back, how could he bear to toss his sister to a big, bad wolf like Leo? To Julian's heartfelt plea, Ava had simply replied, My stuff is still over there. It's too much trouble to move it all back and forth. I'll just make do. God only knew what Julian was feeling when he heard that excuse. Still, for the past 2 weeks, they had slept in separate rooms. Both of them were exercising admirable self-control. Praiseworthy even. Wait, isn't it Sunday? Leo sat up and looked at Ava. Why are you waking me up so early? He was a man who treasured sleeping in until his body naturally decided it was time to wake. Ava's eyes went wide. She pointed at him. Don't tell me you forgot what day it is. Leo frowned, thinking hard. What day is it? Before he could remember, his phone started ringing. He picked it up. Professor Miller. Leo's eyes shot open. He remembered. He answered the phone, and Professor Miller's voice boomed through the speaker, so loud that even Ava could hear it. Leo, where the hell are you? The professor's first words were a string of curses. I've been waiting for you at Ethelberg High School No. 3 for half an hour. Where are you? It's the preliminary round for the Ethelberg Advanced Calculus competition. Don't tell me you forgot. Leo's mouth twitched. He glanced at Ava and stammered. Right, pro. Professor Miller, don't worry. I'm already on my way. Ava rolled her eyes. The lies just rolled off his tongue. He was still sitting on his bed. Where are you now? Miller demanded. I'm warning you, the exam starts at 8. You have to be here by 7:30 for check-in. I'm just around the corner from the school. Don't worry, Professor. I'll be there. Leo hung up and scrambled out of bed. He was about to change his clothes when he paused, his hand on the hem of his shirt. So, you want to maybe give me some privacy? Ava turned and left, muttering under her breath, like there's anything worth seeing. A moment later, Leo, now dressed, burst out of his room, frantically rummaging through drawers and cabinets. Where's my ID? Where's my exam permit? My pen? My eraser? You stupid cat. Are you chewing on my eraser again? Leo gave Reggie a sharp flick on the head. If you use my erasers as a chew toy one more time, I'm drop-kicking you. Reggie covered his head with his paws and scurried into Ava's arms, whimpering with teary eyes. Leo, stop hitting Reggie on the head all the time, Ava said, gently comforting the cat while glaring at Leo. What if you make him dumber? Meow. Exactly. She then produced a clear plastic pouch containing all of Leo's exam documents. Here, I gathered everything for you. You leave your stuff scattered everywhere. Next time, I'm not cleaning up after you. Ava, you're the best. Leo's eyes lit up. He took the pouch and pulled her into a hug, leaning in for a kiss. Get off me. You haven't even brushed your teeth. Ava tried to push him away, but failed, and Leo planted a firm kiss on her cheek. I'm leaving. Without so much as washing his face, Leo waved goodbye and bolted out the door. Unbelievably, from getting out of bed to leaving the apartment, he had taken only 5 minutes. College students were truly a terrifying species. Ava glanced at the closed door and sighed. She turned around, went back to her room, and got back into bed. If it wasn't for waking Leo up, she could have easily slept until noon. You gotta be kidding me. The school is 5 miles away. Leo checked the time. The bus was out of the question. He'd never make it. He had to get a cab. 20 minutes later, he was stuck in traffic. Looks like there was an accident up ahead. You in a hurry, kid? No kidding. If I wasn't in a hurry, why would I be in your car? Just as Leo was about to speak, Professor Miller called again. Leo, where the hell are you now? Did your corner take you half an hour to turn? They're letting students in now. Are you coming or not? Leo was sweating bullets. Professor, I'm here. I'm here. You'll see me in 2 minutes. He hung up and told the driver, Sir, I'll get out here. He stepped out of the car and took a deep breath. He still had about 2 miles to go. There was no other way. Activate gale force. The moment his body surged with power, Leo broke into a dead sprint. Just run. Whoa, what the hell just shot past me? Did we get a new track star in this country? Looks like someone's about to be late for work. That's the only explanation. Along the way, plenty of people noticed Leo, but none could see his face clearly. From that day forward, a new urban legend began to spread through Ethelberg City. They said that around 7:30 in the morning, office workers on the verge of being late would experience a hallucination, a black figure running at impossible speeds. No one could ever make out his shape or features. All he left behind was a gust of wind, and everyone who saw this figure, without exception, ended up being late for work. It was terrifying. Just as his stamina was about to give out, Leo finally reached the gates of Ethelberg High School. No. 2 miles in 7 minutes. It was a damn shame he wasn't on the track team. At the school entrance, Professor Miller was on the verge of a full-blown meltdown. He'd already cursed Leo out 1,000 times in his head. This competition wasn't just about Leo. It was about whether Miller would get his tenure this year. That's why he was taking it so seriously, even showing up in person. Leo deactivated Gale Force, panting heavily as he walked toward Miller. Fighting the foam alliance hadn't been this tiring. Miller turned, saw Leo, and pointed a finger, his mouth opening to unleash a tirade. But he held it in. Just get inside, Miller said, his voice a mix of fury and resignation. How could the kid be late for something so important? He decided he'd been far too lenient with Leo. Leo nodded and bowed his head, scurrying into the exam hall like a scolded puppy. After passing through facial recognition and a metal detector, Leo found his assigned seat. He checked the time. 10 minutes until the exam started. He put his head down, planning to catch another 10 minutes of sleep. He'd barely closed his eyes when a proctor tapped him on the shoulder, asking him to sign the sealed exam packet. Because he was in seat number 1, he and the student in seat number 2 had the honor of being student representatives. With a hint of resentment, Leo scribbled his name without even checking if the seal was intact. Ping. Congratulations, host. A mission has been triggered. Please obtain first place in the Ethelberg Advanced Calculus competition. Mission completion will grant a random skill reward. Hearing the familiar system notification, Leo raised an eyebrow. What if I fail? The system will look down on you. So what if it looks down on me? Leo's lip twitched. Ever since he'd gotten the Undying Pack skill, it seemed like system missions no longer had penalties. He didn't know why, but it was a good thing. The exam papers were distributed. Leo quickly scanned the questions. Yep, he was good. They were all easy. Only the top 10 finishers in this Ethelberg competition would advance to the national finals. And only the top 3 in the nationals would receive a gold medal. From the very beginning, Professor Miller had been training Leo with that gold medal in mind. For Leo, this little regional qualifier was child's play. The exam was 3 hours long. Leo finished in an hour and a half. He hadn't even filled a single sheet of scratch paper. Without bothering to double-check his answers, he raised his hand. Professor, I'd like a turn in my exam. That's how confident he was. Behind him, a dozen heads shot up in disbelief. Seriously, dude? Are you trying to mess with our heads? You finished in an hour and a half. Turn it in. The proctor frowned, assuming Leo couldn't solve the problems and was just giving up. But when he picked up Leo's answer sheet, he saw that it was completely filled out. The students behind Leo caught a glimpse of the completed sheet and felt their spirits crumble even further. Are you kidding me? You actually knew how to do it all. All right, you can go, the proctor said, waving Leo off before collecting his papers and placing them on the main desk. Watching Leo leave, he sighed in admiration. Probably another math prodigy, cultivated by some other school. Outside, Professor Miller was sitting at a small food stand, having coffee and a donut. Across from him sat a professor from another university in Ethelberg, an old acquaintance. They were making small talk, both waiting for their students to finish. So, Miller, I hear you've taken on a remarkable student this year. Don't even get me started. The kid was late today. Almost gave me a heart attack. I heard through the grapevine that the questions are pretty tough this year. Think your student will make it to the nationals? I'm not just bragging here, but if that kid put even half his mind to math, he'd probably have a direct offer for a Ph.D. program by now. As Miller spoke, he saw a familiar figure walk out of the school gate. Leo looked around, saw Miller at the food stand, and waved with a smile. Professor Miller, I'm done with the exam. Heading home to eat. Miller, his brain not quite catching up, replied out of habit. Okay, be safe on your way back. He lowered his head and took another sip of coffee. That Leo kid sure is fast at taking tests. Halfway through his sip, Miller's hand froze. Wait a minute. Something's not right. He shot to his feet, staring at Leo's retreating back, and bellowed, "You, get back here." The shout startled Leo. He turned around to find Miller, suddenly right in his face. Whoa, Professor, you have Gale Force too? Why are you out already? Miller's face was beet red as he pointed at his watch. Isn't the exam 3 hours long? It's been less than 2 hours. Why are you out? I finished, so I came out. Is there a problem? Leo said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. You finished. Miller's eyes widened. You finished everything? There wasn't anything you couldn't solve. The way you're talking, it's almost like you were hoping I'd run into problems. Did you check your work? I don't think so. Leo's gaze shifted. Why didn't you check? Miller despaired. I was in a hurry to get home and eat. My girlfriend is waiting for me to bring back breakfast. On his way out, Ava had reminded him to bring back soup dumplings and soy milk. Your girl, Miller's fist clenched. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. Deep breaths. Damn it. I never should have let that kid start dating. Miller calmed himself down. Are you confident you'll make it to the Nationals? He asked, his voice steady. Although he trusted Leo's abilities, his cavalier attitude was genuinely worrying. Don't worry, Professor. Leo flashed a brilliant smile. I'm definitely getting first place. Really? Really? Truer than true. And what if you don't? Then you could pretend I never said it. You little. Miller clamped his mouth shut, forcing the curse words back down. He was a great and respected educator. He couldn't swear at his students. He pointed a trembling finger at Leo for a long moment, but couldn't manage to say a word. He realized that besides profanity, he was speechless. Forget it. Let the world burn. Life was hard. Miller sighed. It was just his bad luck to get a student like this. Go home and work on some problems for the Nationals, Miller finally said, giving up. The results will be out soon. Based on previous years, the Nationals will be 2 weeks after the results are announced. This year's competition is in Westlake City. You'll go there on your own. The university will reimburse all your expenses. Miller looked Leo straight in the eye, his expression serious. You have to give it 200% of your effort and bring a gold medal back for our school. Understand? Leo nodded solemnly. Understand. I'll give my all. I should probably pick up an Inferno burrito on the way back too, Leo thought. When Leo returned home, carrying an Inferno burrito and a container of soup dumplings, Ava was already up. Still in her Pikachu pajamas and cuddling Reggie, she was sitting on the living room couch watching TV. Hearing the door open, she turned her head. You're back? Where are the soup dumplings? Shouldn't a normal girlfriend ask how my exam went first? Leo said, exasperated. So, where are the soup dumplings? I got them, he said with a sigh. Hee. Ava beamed, clearing a small space on the coffee table. For the past 2 weeks, they had been eating all their meals at this table. Sometimes takeout, sometimes eating out. Today was a rare occasion for breakfast, only because Leo had to get up early. Normally, breakfast was not a concept that existed for either of them. What are you watching? You look so focused, Leo asked, noticing that Ava was still glued to her phone while eating. A singing competition. It's live. Ava took out one of her earbuds and handed it to Leo. Want to listen? Leo nodded, took the earbud, and the music filled his ear. Whoa, not bad. Of course. This is my favorite singer. She hasn't dropped out of the top 3 yet, Ava said between bites of a dumpling. After they finished eating, while Ava was in the bathroom, Leo snuck over to Reggie's cat bed and pulled out the Ava Reed expense report. He still hadn't collected that massive debt from Julian. I played such a huge role on the island. Asking for $200,000 shouldn't be too much, right? Nah, I'll ask for $210,000. Enough to buy a car. Leo had it all planned out. There was a new electric car model that cost exactly $210,000. TSK, having his own car as a freshman. How sweet would that be? That would put him ahead of 99% of college students in the country. Ava, I'm heading out for a bit. Huh? Where are you going? Ava poked her head out of the bathroom. Dylan wants me to play some games with him. Leo didn't dare say he was going to extort Julian, especially with such a ridiculous piece of paper. If Ava found out he was using this thing to scam, to demand money, he'd be in deep trouble. Without waiting for her to reply, Leo dashed out of the apartment, leaving a stunned Ava standing in the doorway with a toothbrush in her mouth, her eyes full of confusion. 2.5 hours later, at the Reed family estate, Julian's eye twitched as he stared at the piece of paper. Across from him, Leo sat with his legs crossed, nonchalantly sipping tea. Is this blackmail? Julian glanced at Leo. He hadn't expected the kid's audacity to grow so quickly. He was trying to scam money from Julian himself. Kane, who was passing by, heard Julian and leaned in for a look. He sucked in a sharp breath. This damn kid, you got some nerve. Breathing fee? You actually wrote that down, and you split it into inhaling fee and exhaling fee. You're a goddamn genius. $10,000 right off the bat. You don't have a shred of a model student's moral character, do you? Kane pointed at Leo, his voice dripping with contempt. TCH. Leo shot a look at Kane, then held up 3 fingers to Julian. First, it's not 10,000, it's 210,000. That includes my fee for helping out on the island. 110,000 for that isn't too much to ask, right? Second, this expense report has Ava's handprint on it. It clearly states that all expenses are to be paid by her dear brother, Julian Reed. Third, as for my status as a model student, I have proof. You can check the National Student Information Database. He finished with a sly look at Julian. The Reed family is an apex family now. You're not going to stiff me on such a small amount of money, are you? In reality, Ava knew nothing about the handprint or the contents of that note. Leo had written it himself. As for the handprint, that was acquired one moonless night when he snuck into her room while she was sleeping. He'd also stolen a kiss. Julian sighed. Let's just round it down. I'll give you 200,000. He was powerless against Leo. What could he do? This was his future brother-in-law. Besides, Leo's contribution on the island had been indispensable. So, for such a small request, Julian could agree. Nope, 210,000. Not a penny less. Why? None of your business. Just then, Kane raised an eyebrow, a thought occurring to him. There's a new electric car that just came out. The base model price, if I remember correctly, is... He pulled out his phone to check, then looked at Leo. TSK, it's exactly 210,000, isn't it? You want to buy a car, kid? Julian looked at Leo, too. Leo just clicked his tongue. Since he'd been found out, there was no point in pretending. He gave a slight nod, admitting it. Wait a second. I don't think you have a driver's license, do you? Kane asked again. So I can't get one? Leo retorted. Are you going to blow up the driving school, too? What kind of thing is that to say? What is wrong with you? Leo exploded. That's slander. I can report you to the BSO for this. He felt Kane had a deep misunderstanding of him. Was he really the kind of person who caused explosions wherever he went? Oh, please. The BSO won't care. How long has it been since you even showed up for work there? Kane teased, completely unfazed. Nonsense. I clock in every day. Bullshit. As far as I know, you clock in and go straight home to sleep. You don't do a lick of work. I'm showing up for work. Why do I also have to work? Leo said, full of self-righteousness. Besides, my cover's blown. Everyone sees me as a Reed family associate now. What's the point of me being there anyway? Kane's mouth twitched. He actually couldn't argue with that. All right, stop arguing, Julian said, annoyed by their bickering. They fought every time they met, and Kane was just as stubborn, even though he could never win an argument or a fight against Leo. If you want to buy a car, that's fine, Julian said, putting down the paper. Go get your driver's license, and I'll give you the 210,000. Speaking of which, I don't think Ava has a license either. You two can go get them together. Leo slammed his hand on the table. Deal. It's a promise. How hard could driving a car be? Leo was determined to get his license and shove it in Kane's face. He would show him that Leo Evans didn't need Kane as a chauffeur. He could tear up the streets all by himself. That afternoon, at a driving school in Ethelberg City, Leo had to hand it to them. An apex family moved fast. Julian had made the promise at noon, and by the afternoon, he had already arranged a school and an instructor. Ava, dressed in jeans, white sneakers, and a light jacket, looked completely bewildered. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I suddenly at a driving school? Even now, she hadn't fully processed what had happened. All she knew was that one phone call from Leo, and here she was about to get her driver's license. Hello there. A slightly overweight, older-looking man walked toward them. Leo Evans and Ava Reed, right? The man said, looking them over. My name is Riker. I'll be your instructor. Mr. Reed has already taken care of everything. You just focus on learning. He's covering all the costs. You don't have to worry about my teaching skills. I'm this school's gold medal instructor. I used to be a race car driver. Whoa, a gold medal instructor right off the bat. Julian didn't mess around. Mr. Riker, right? Nice to meet you, Leo said, shaking his hand. I'd like to get my license as soon as possible. How long will that take? If everything goes smoothly, about a month. That long? Of course. There are procedures. No matter how fast you learn, you still have to wait for the official test dates. Leo frowned. A month. He couldn't wait that long. There was no other choice. He had to pull some strings. Julian's influence wouldn't work here. He needed an official contact. Coach, hold on a second. I need to make a call. Leo walked to a corner and dialed a number. Ring. Hello, Alex, it's Leo. You need something? I do. It's important. Leo glanced at Riker. So, I'm getting my driver's license, but I can't wait a month. Is there any way our Bureau of Syndicate Oversight can help me arrange things? He deliberately emphasized our BSO. Are you insane, Leo? Alex shot back. What do you think the BSO is? A concierge service to help you get your driver's license. That's a bit harsh, Leo said defensively. I'm a member of the BSO, aren't I? I've bled for the BSO. Nosebleeds don't count. And how long has it been since you've even shown up for work? None of your business. Just give me a straight answer. Can you do it or not? No, hold on. Alex stopped mid-sentence. After a moment, his voice came back on the line. We can do it, but there's a condition. What condition? Spit it out. Leo raised an eyebrow. You still have to learn to drive. The most we can do is contact the Department of Transportation and get the waiting periods between exams waived for you. Alex paused. Also, you need to find some time to come see Director Jensen. That explained it. Old man Jensen wanted to see him, but was too proud to call himself, so he was using this as an excuse to make Leo come to him. Fine, it's a deal. Leo hung up. He walked back to Riker. Coach, I've sorted it all out. You just have to teach. The scheduling is taken care of. Riker stood frozen, staring at Leo in shock. Who the hell is this guy? He can even fix this. All he knew was that the person who hired him was a big boss with deep pockets. He hadn't expected the student to have such powerful connections. In that case, you could just call me Riker, he said, swallowing hard. He adapted quickly. No wonder he was a gold medal instructor. I think I'll stick with Coach Riker. Leo looked at Riker's face, which had more wrinkles than his own father's. After some discussion, Ava chose to learn on an automatic, while Leo, ever the macho man, chose a stick shift. What kind of man learns on an automatic? It had to be a manual. 2.5 hours later, Ava was already practicing the maneuvers for the skills test on the course. Leo was still trying to start the car. It was the 15th time he had stalled. Even Riker was impressed. In all his years as a gold medal instructor, he had never seen a student so professional at stalling. It was a shame Leo wasn't a firefighter. After stalling yet again, Leo silently got out of the car, walked over to Riker, and said with his head hung low, Coach, I'd like to learn on an automatic. I was waiting for you to say that. The car's all ready for you. Riker clapped his hands in excitement. God only knew what kind of torture he'd endured teaching Leo for the past few hours. Leo was suffering, but he was suffering more. With any other student, he would have been cursing up a storm by now. But with Leo, he didn't dare. That one phone call had labeled Leo as not to be messed with. Hey, Coach, don't you have other students? Leo asked curiously as they walked to the other car. It seemed like Riker had only taught the two of them all afternoon. Don't instructors usually take on several students at once? Riker chuckled. I do have other students. 2 came this morning. As for the rest, he decided to just show Leo his phone contacts. These are all my students. As for why they're not here, you'll understand when you see the notes in the parentheses. Riker smiled bitterly. Leo took the phone and his mouth twitched. He felt a wave of sympathy for the man. The world was truly full of strange people. Riker's contact list. Student number 1, Chris, has to consult his horoscope before driving. Student number 2, Felicia, cried for 30 minutes after failing to parallel park. Inconsolable. Student number 3, Liam, intentionally hit the cones to see how many points he'd lose. Student number 4, Olivia, doesn't come if it's raining. Or if it's sunny. Student number 5, Sam, doesn't come if it's too cold. Or if it's too hot. Student number 6, Brenda, only shows up if there's a cute guy in the next car. Student number 7, Zoe, her driving is something I couldn't replicate even if I were drunk. Student number 8, Chloe, cries every time she can't back into a spot. Needs to be coddled. Coach, you've really had it rough, huh? Leo said, handing the phone back with a weak smile. Tell me about it. Riker sighed, taking his phone back. It's just my bad luck to get these characters. If it weren't for protecting my gold medal reputation, I'd have dropped them all. Let someone else teach them. Just as he finished speaking, Ava shouted from the other side of the lot. Coach, I think I'm ready to practice for the road test. What? Leo was stunned. He looked at Ava in disbelief. I haven't even gotten the car moving, and you're already on the road test? When did you get this talented? Why didn't I know? A cheater. Ava was definitely using a cheat code. Riker, however, was beaming with pride. You go get familiar with the car. I'll take her for a run on the road course. Leaving Leo behind, Riker rushed over to Ava. Now, that was the kind of student he wanted to teach. As for Leo, Riker thought for a moment, then added 2 new contacts to his phone. Student number 9, Ava, natural-born driver, learns everything instantly. Student number 10, Leo, professional staller. A week later, Ava got her driver's license, right on schedule. Leo, on the other hand, had just failed his skills test for the 3rd time. Why? This is impossible. Leo's eyes were wide with disbelief, refusing to accept the reality. He got motion sick on helicopters, he got seasick on boats, and now he couldn't pass a simple driving test. Was he truly destined to be mortal enemies with all forms of transportation? Ava walked up to him with a grin, dangling her new license in his face. Oh no, don't tell me. Don't tell me someone actually failed their skills test 3 times in a row. She covered her mouth in mock surprise, looking at Leo. And don't tell me that someone is Leo Evans. For the first time, Ava's voice sounded incredibly grating to Leo. He bit down hard, his fist clenched. System, do you have any skills related to vehicles? Give me one now. He roared in his mind. No. Hurry up. I'll trade you years of my life for it. Sorry, there really are none. Useless system. Host, please watch your language. What are you going to do, bite me? Useless. Leo was in a full-blown rage, ready to snap at anyone and everyone. The system went silent. It should have picked a different host. It was stuck with this lunatic. Leo, don't be discouraged. We still got 2 more chances, right? Riker walked up to him, speaking cautiously. Instead of being comforted, Leo just grew quieter. After a long moment, he stood up and said calmly, Coach, I'm done with driving school. Hearing this, Riker thought Leo was still upset and tried to console him. Leo, listen to me. You actually have a lot of talent. Coach, stop trying to make me feel better, Leo interrupted. I figured it out. It's a curse. For the rest of my life, no matter how I try, I can never escape this fate. This is all because of the bad karma I accumulated in my past life. That's why I'll never be on good terms with any vehicle. Riker's mouth twitched. He shot a worried look at Ava. Had he finally snapped? Ava just motioned for Riker not to worry. This was just Leo being Leo, having one of his periodic breakdowns. In the end, Leo took all his resentment and stormed off to the BSO headquarters. Operating under the principle of if you're going to have a meltdown, have it at work, he walked through the doors with a thunderous expression. The rage radiating off him was potent enough to power several Dark Lords. He desperately needed a punching bag to vent on. Well, if it isn't Dr. Evans, Tank said the moment he saw Leo, his voice dripping with sarcasm. What brings you to grace us with your presence at work today? Leo glanced at Tank impassively. Okay, you'll do. Under the watchful eyes of everyone in the office, Leo slowly walked up to Tank. He looked up at the much larger man, opened his mouth, and uttered a single word. Dumbass. Tank. It took him a moment to process. What the hell did you just say? He thought he must have misheard. Had Leo just insulted him in front of the entire BSO? I said, you're a dumbass, Leo repeated, a challenging glint in his eyes. Come on, get mad. Do it. If Tank so much as flinched, Leo would activate Gale Force and show him who was boss. Hey, let's all just calm down, someone said, seeing the tension rise and trying to mediate. You want some of this too? Leo shot back without turning his head. The man immediately shut up, looking at Leo with a strange expression. Was he rabid today, just biting anyone who got close? Who would set this psycho off now? Everyone present knew what Leo had done on the Crucible. He was a bona fide badass. And to top it off, he seemed to have some kind of connection with Director Jensen, so almost no one at the BSO dared to mess with him. Except, of course, for Tank. By now, Tank was seeing red. He had a notoriously short fuse, and being called a dumbass twice was more than he could take. I'm gonna fucking kill you. He reached for the gun on his hip. Calm down, calm down. Tank, be smart, man. You can't win. Where's Alex? Someone get Alex Young. Get Alex over here to put a leash on Leo. A group of agents swarmed Tank, holding him back, terrified he'd actually attack. They were afraid Tank would get himself killed by Leo. What's the matter? Weren't you gonna kill me? Leo continued to taunt the restrained man. Go on, pull your gun. Shoot me. If you don't kill me here today, I'll look down on you for the rest of my life, Tank. Leo was still pushing. You son of a bitch. Tank roared to the heavens. This was the last straw. Let me go. I'm kicking his ass today. Do it. If you don't, you're my grandson. Leo had lost his mind. The other agents all shot Leo a look. Would you just shut the hell up? Why did you have to come to the BSO to have your meltdown? Finally, out of options, one of them just knocked Tank out with a baton. Leo was deeply disappointed. He had really wanted to punch something. Still, yelling his head off had felt pretty good. Just then, Alex Young, having been notified, arrived late to the scene. He stared wide-eyed at the unconscious Tank. What the hell happened now? After getting the rundown, Alex pointed at Leo, his lips parting. He then forced the curse words back down. What is wrong with you today? He started it. He was sarcastic with me, Leo said, pointing at Tank. So you called him a dumbass? Alex took a deep breath. He found that his emotions were always unstable around Leo. How on earth could Julian's sister stand dating this maniac? She must be on the verge of a stress-induced heart attack every day. What are you even doing here? Alex asked through gritted teeth. What do you mean? Wasn't it old man Jensen who wanted to see me? He told me to stop by when I had time. You finished your driving test? I'd advise you not to bring that up. Leo clenched his fists, resisting the urge to punch Alex. Fine. Ignorance is bliss. Alex didn't know what had set Leo off, but since he was here, it wasn't a total loss. All right, everyone break it up. A few of you stay and look after Tank when he wakes up. With that, Alex led Leo upstairs, leaving a few agents standing around awkwardly. Look after Tank? So, who's going to do that? I just remembered I have some unfinished paperwork. Me too. I was in the middle of using the restroom. I have to go out on a field assignment. See you guys later. In an instant, everyone scattered. No one wanted to be the one to deal with Tank. Are you kidding? The guy had a temper like a lit fuse. Who wanted to be the match? Let him sort himself out. And so, Tank was left slumped in a chair, completely alone. No one cared. So, what does old man Jensen want with me anyway? Leo grumbled as they walked up the stairs. Going to all this trouble to see me. What kind of scheme is he cooking up now? You'll find out when you see him. Hearing the name Old Man Jensen, Alex's mouth twitched, and he adjusted his glasses. Just then, ping. Congratulations, host, on completing the mission and achieving first place in the Ethelberg Advanced Calculus Competition, drawing random reward. The system notifications sounded, and Leo raised an eyebrow. The results were out? Didn't Professor Miller say it would be another 2 days? A second later, he understood. The system was always one step ahead. Reward drawn. Congratulations, host, on acquiring the advanced skill, Dirty Pickpocket. Leo's mouth twitched at the skill's name. So Dirty is a whole series, huh? What does this skill do? He asked in his mind. When the host makes physical contact with a target, you can randomly steal one item from their person. This skill can only be used once per day. Whoa, an active skill. System, I suspect you're leading me down a dark path, Leo said, dissatisfied. I'm a model citizen of Ethelberg, a model student of AU. Why do you keep giving me all these underhanded skills? Host, please have a little self-awareness. System, you son of a... We're here. Alex's voice cut in, saving Leo's pristine reputation. The system was spared. Squeak. Leo pushed open the door and entered the office. He immediately saw Director Jensen sitting on the sofa, smoking. You're here. Jensen gave Leo a meaningful look and gestured to the sofa. Sit. Would it kill you to use a few more words? Leo grumbled internally. Even more of a poser than I am. So what's this all about? Why did you want to see me? Leo asked as he sat down, still annoyed. You're the esteemed director of the BSO. Why are you always scheming against a poor college student like me? Jensen let out a disdainful laugh. You still remember you're a college student? If you hadn't said it, I might have mistaken you for the Ghost, the #1 assassin on the Hero Index. Oh yeah? Does this ghost guy also have a thing for Inferno burritos? Leo asked, pouring himself a cup of tea. Jensen shook his head. I wouldn't know. Information on him is a closely guarded secret. So, why am I here? As you know, the BSO and the Reed family are now partners. Anthony Reed and I are planning to establish a new, separate agency. Jensen stood up, picked up a file from his desk, and handed it to Leo. The BSO and the Reed family will each contribute half the personnel. They will leave their original factions and join this new agency, which will serve as the foundation of our deeper cooperation. Leo took the file, but didn't even look at it, just tossed it on the table. This sounded like a massive headache he wanted no part of. So, you guys figured out. What does that have to do with me? The head of this agency needs to be impartial, someone who won't favor either side. After thinking it over, I believe you're the most suitable candidate. Jensen smiled. You have close ties to the Reed family, and you're the BSO's psychological consultant. Your background is perfect for the role. Not happening. Leo refused without a second's hesitation. Him, a director? Was he joking? He thought at most Jensen would ask him to join the agency. He never imagined he'd be asked to run the whole thing. I'm not touching that mess. Ask Alex or Kane. Let one of them do it, Leo said, shaking his head firmly. I'm not doing it. I'm just a freshman. I have immense academic pressure. I have final exams. I have the calculus competition. I have to spend time with my girlfriend. Long story short, I'm not doing it. Jensen's expression remained flat. What if Alex and Kane were working under you? Even then, I wouldn't wait, what? Leo stopped mid-sentence, his eyes lighting up. What did you just say? Jensen sat back down on the sofa and casually lit another cigarette. As long as you agree to be the director, I'll assign Kane and Alex to be your direct subordinates. You'll just be a figurehead. You won't have to do a thing. They'll handle all the day-to-day operations. You can live your life exactly as you have been. How about it? Gulp. Leo swallowed. To be honest, he was tempted. He didn't care about Alex, but the thought of the look on Kane's face when he found out, that would be priceless. Well, now that you mention it, maybe we could discuss this. Leo's face changed, a smile spreading across it. He sat down across from Jensen, picked up the file again, and began reading it carefully. When he got to the salary section, his eyes went wide. $15,000 a month. Seriously? Seriously. Pre-tax or post-tax? Post-tax. Hiss. Leo sucked in a sharp breath. His current salary as a psychological consultant was $8,000 a month. This was nearly double, and he wouldn't even have to work for it. This was basically free money. 15 grand a month, plus performance bonuses and a year-end bonus. That's probably over 200 grand a year. In 2 or 3 years, I could buy a bigger place, stop renting. By then, I'll have a car and a house. Saving up for a dowry will be a piece of cake. Leo did some quick mental math and came to a conclusion. This deal wasn't bad at all. If you don't see any issues, you can sign the agreement, Jensen said with a slight smile, having read Leo's thoughts perfectly. You're still too young to play games with me. No one, especially a college student, could refuse a high-paying job that allowed them to slack off. Leo read through the agreement one more time, carefully. It seemed straightforward enough. Still, to be safe, he made a few demands. I must have full command authority. Everyone in the agency must obey my orders. Done. Also, I have the right to amend any of the agency's rules and regulations. That's fine too. Finally, I want Tank assigned to my unit. No prob. Wait, why do you want him? Jensen's head tilted. Why specifically ask for Tank? Leo grinned mischievously. Because he and we just really click. Jensen was suspicious, but didn't press the issue. It was just Tank. No one cared. In the office, having received Jensen's assurances, Leo cheerfully signed his name on the agreement. That should do it, right? Leo handed one copy to Jensen. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. Hold on. Jensen took the agreement, gave it a cursory glance, then tossed it aside and looked at Leo. You're going to Westlake City in a few days, aren't you? Whoa, how did you know that? Leo was startled. Honestly, if Professor Miller hadn't told him, he wouldn't have even known himself. Ever since you returned from the Crucible, your every move has been on my radar. What? You have a voyeurism fetish. Jensen shot him a look and continued. Anyway, when you get to Westlake City, if you have time, help me find someone. I don't have time. You do. I don't. Are you planning to breach your contract? Jensen smiled, picking up the agreement and waving it in front of Leo. He said nonchalantly, from the moment you signed this, I became one of your direct superiors. Originally, I didn't want to handle things this way. However, if you refuse to accept the mission I assign, you'll have to pay a termination fee. Leo's eyes widened. There was nothing about that in the agreement. It's a hidden clause. Perhaps you saw it, but you didn't understand it, Jensen said with a mocking smile. It's important to learn a bit about the law while you're in school, isn't it, model student? The words made Leo clench his fists and bite his lip. He had no comeback. He had truly been bested by his own ignorance. He was legally illiterate. While he had read the agreement seriously, in truth, he hadn't understood most of it. He'd only seen the $15,000 per month part, operating under the assumption that the director of the BSO wouldn't scam me he had signed. Looking at the smug director Jensen, Leo wanted to slap himself. He was so stupid, so truly stupid. He knew Jensen was friends with Anthony Reed, yet he'd foolishly believed the director was a good guy. Thinking about it now, anyone who could be friends with Anthony Reed couldn't possibly be a good person. The termination fee. How much is it? Leo asked through gritted teeth. Not much. Jensen held up one finger. $1 million. Leo fell silent, just staring at Jensen, his eyes screaming obscenities. Then his gaze drifted to the agreement on the table, a dangerous idea forming in his mind. I'd advise you not to entertain that thought, Jensen said, seeing right through him. If you tear up that agreement now, not only will you face legal consequences, but you'll also be a wanted man by the BSO. Leo took a deep, shuddering breath. Then, he forced a smile that was uglier than a grimace. Why would I ever think of doing something like that? Director, sir, Leo said, his voice dripping with sycophancy. I was born a BSO man, and I'll die a BSO ghost. It is my honor to contribute to our great bureau, Director, sir. Jensen glanced up at him. No more resistance? Oh, that was just a moment of youthful recklessness. I was being ignorant. Please don't take it to heart. Leo rubbed his hands together nervously. You were saying you wanted me to find someone in Westlake City. Let me tell you, I'm the best at finding people. I have a cat with a very sensitive nose. Shut up. Yes, sir. Leo snapped his mouth shut. Leo Evans, the picture of obedience. Jensen pinched the bridge of his nose, a headache forming. Leo talked way too much. Listen, I'm not going to make things difficult for you. Find a man if you can. If you can't, I won't blame you. But I want you to keep an eye out. With that, Jensen stood up and took a photograph from his drawer, handing it to Leo. In the photo, a man who looked to be in his late 50s or early 60s with salt and pepper hair was smiling warmly at the camera and making a peace sign. A playful old man. That was Leo's first impression. His name is Dr. Quentin Marks. He's a scholar. Jensen paused. Anthony Reed and I have been looking for him for a long time. We only know that he's likely in Westlake City. A scholar. Leo frowned. You know him? You don't need to worry about the details. If you see this man in Westlake City, call me immediately. Understand? Leo nodded slightly, then smiled. Any other instructions for me, sir? Jensen's mouth twitched. No, you can go. Yes, sir. Leo took the photo and backed out of the room with a grin. The moment the door closed, the smile vanished from his face. Old fox. You just wait, Leo seethed. He wouldn't forget this. $1 million. What a shakedown. The thought of the termination fee made him clench his fists again. He had an impulse to put on a mask tonight, activate Gale Force, break into the BSO, and beat the crap out of Jensen. Of course, it was just a thought. He was afraid of being put on the BSO's most wanted list. Leo. Where's Leo? Get that son of a bitch out here. I'm gonna kill him. As Leo walked down the stairs, he heard Tanks roar from the ground floor and raised an eyebrow. Oh, he's awake. Perfect timing. Leo was just looking for a place to vent. What's all the shouting about? Leo called down as he descended. Don't you know your voice constitutes a public nuisance? If this were at night, I'd call the cops on you in a heartbeat. The agents who had been trying to calm Tank down fell silent when they saw Leo. Were they determined to push Tank to his breaking point? One of them expertly grabbed a baton, preparing to knock Tank out again. Tank, watch out. Someone's about to sneak up behind you. Leo wasn't about to let his punching bag get knocked unconscious again. Who would he take his anger out on then? Tank whipped his head around. The baton in Henson's hand froze mid-swing. He looked at Tank awkwardly. The atmosphere was silent for 3 seconds. Clang. Henson dropped the baton and pointed an accusing finger at the other agents, his face a mask of fury. Who was it? Who threw this baton at Tank's head? If I hadn't caught it in midair with my lightning-fast reflexes, the consequences would have been unimaginable. How could you be so cruel to a colleague? Do you have no conscience? Don't you worry, Tank. I'll find the person who did this. I suspect they're the one who knocked you out before, too. Henson pounded his chest, solemnly swearing to get justice for him. Leo watched this display, his mouth twitching. When did BSO agents get so shameless? He discreetly gave Henson a thumbs up. This guy was ruthless, willing to throw himself under the bus to save his own skin. A real talent. Leo decided he'd have to talk to Jensen and get this guy transferred to his team. He already had a plan for how to get his revenge on Jensen. He would slowly chip away at his power, one agent at a time, until Jensen was a general without an army. Oof. Tank snorted. He wasn't a complete idiot. He knew who had knocked him out before. It was Henson, but it was useless. Henson was clearly playing dumb, ready to deny it until the very end. Besides, in terms of rank, Henson was above him. Tank, like Alex, was a grade 2 inspector. Henson was a grade 1 director. Tap, tap. Nearby, Leo was already cracking his knuckles. Big guy, didn't you want to fight me? He rolled his neck and beckoned to Tank. Come on, I'll grant your wish. Whoosh, the other agents scattered, giving the two of them a wide berth. If they couldn't stop it, they might as well watch the show. Place your bets. 10-1 odds on Tank, 1.5-1 on Leo. Dude, seriously? After all this time as colleagues, we're gonna do him like that? Yeah, 10-1. How little do you think of Tank? So, who are you all betting on? Leo. All in, they all said in unison. Henson was especially enthusiastic, rummaging through his desk drawer and even pulling out his bus pass to place his bet. As the agents watched with excitement, Alex stood in the distance, shaking his head in dismay. The esteemed Bureau of Syndicate Oversight. What has it come to? Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, Tank, his eyes bloodshot, let out a roar and charged at Leo. He swung a fist the size of a hamburger straight for Leo's head, yelling, I'm going to teach you a lesson today. Leo stood his ground, casually cleaning out his ear. Gale Force. Instant activation. 2.5 minutes later, just as everyone expected, Leo was holding Tank down on the floor, pummeling him. This is for being a smartass. Thump, thump, thump. This is for screwing me over. Thump, thump, thump. This is for that old fox cheating me out of $1 million. Thump, thump, thump. And this is for being named Tank. Thump, thump, thump. At that moment, only 2 people in the entire BSO looked unhappy. One was Tank, and the other was the agent who had set up the betting pool. About 80% of the office had gone all in on Leo, having witnessed his performance on the Crucible. Now, he was going to have to write out a lot of IOUs. Everyone else was thrilled with their winnings. As for Tank, no one cared. Tank lay pinned to the floor, getting hit again and again, his entire body numb. What did I screw you over? What does $1 million have to do with me? If you're gonna beat me up, fine, but why are you yelling things I don't understand? After he was done, Leo leaned down and whispered in his ear, Director Jensen already sold you to me. From now on, you work for me. We have a long road ahead of us. Hearing this, the whites of Tank's eyes showed, and he passed out from sheer rage. Leo stood up, rubbing his knuckles and letting out a long breath. That felt good. He had to admit, Tank's physique was perfectly built. Every punch landed with a satisfying thud. Alex walked over and looked at the unconscious Tank with a sigh. Couldn't you have just let him go? He asked Leo. Let him go? Who's gonna let me go? Leo looked at Alex with a smirk. Besides, your director didn't let you go either. Alex frowned. What do you mean? Leo chuckled, pulled the agreement he'd just signed from his pocket, and handed it to Alex. Starting today, you, Alex Young, are working for me. Hearing this, the other agents crowded around Alex, peering at the agreement and the personnel list. Holy shit, is this a joke? A partnership with the Reed family? Has the director lost his mind? A lot of people are being transferred. Benson's not on the list, though. This is insane. Oh wait, I'm not on it. Never mind. Why is Tank's name at the bottom? It looks like it was just handwritten in. How sloppy. Compared to the other's shock, the moment Alex saw his own name on the list, his brain shut down. Who am I? Where am I? Why my name here? I'm Leo's subordinate. It was only then that Alex realized he had been sold out, packaged, and sold right along with Tank. So that's the deal. From now on, I'm your boss, Leo said with a grin. I hope we can all get along. The agents who had been assigned to Leo's new unit all looked like they had just eaten something foul. Well, that's all for now. I'll let you know when there are work assignments, Leo said, taking the agreement back from Alex and leaving without a backward glance. Dr. Evans, no, Director Evans was clocking out. Alex remained frozen, as if his soul had left his body. Standing at the entrance of the BSO, Leo experienced the feeling of being a leader for the first time. TSK, I need to get Ava to buy me an executive windbreaker, Leo muttered. Now that he was a director, he had to dress the part, right in a thermos. The thought made him sigh. He was only a freshman, yet society had already molded him into a corporate bureaucrat. BZZ, his phone vibrated. He pulled it out. Professor Miller? Hello, Leo. Let me tell you, I pulled some strings and found out your competition score. Guess what place you got? As soon as he answered, Professor Miller's excited voice burst through the speaker. Leo's mouth twitched. No need to tell me, Professor. The system already did. Still, Miller was his teacher. He had to play along. I don't know. Don't tell me I didn't make the top 10. Leo said, his voice full of mock anxiety. Top 10? Hit. Miller let out a whoop. You got first place, Leo. You got a perfect score, kid. Ha ha. The university leadership is buzzing. They told me I have to take good care of you. Just as Leo was about to reply, another call came in. It was Ava. Hey, Professor, I have to go. I'm busy studying. Oh, okay. Study hard, but make sure to take breaks. Don't overwork yourself. Leo hung up before Miller could finish and answered Ava's call. Hey, Leo, where are you? At the BSO. What's up, miss me? Miss you, my ass. What are you doing at the BSO? I believe you if you said you were there to beat someone up. You working? Not likely, Ava said after a moment's pause. Ahem. Leo coughed a few times. He had, in fact, just finished beating up Tank. How'd you guess that? So, are you free right now? Ava asked. If you're not busy, meet me on Central Street. We can do some shopping. Shopping? Leo's eyebrow raised. It had been a while since he and Ava had gone on a proper date, just the two of them. Okay, I'll get a ride over. Great, I'll be waiting. Half an hour later, Central Street. Leo stared with dead eyes at Ava and Quinn, who was standing right next to her. Hey, long time no see. Quinn greeted him enthusiastically. A long time no see, Quinn, Leo managed, forcing a smile and a small wave. So much for a private date. He knew it. Ava wouldn't ask him out so proactively without a catch. Looking at the mountain of shopping bags on the ground, Leo instantly understood. He'd been summoned to be a pack mule. Ava threw her arms around him, her eyes curving into crescents. Quinn and I bought a few too many things, so I had to call for emergency backup. Here, this is for you. She handed him a boba tea, already pierced with a straw. A short distance away, Quinn was choking on the sudden display of affection. You didn't say that boba was for Leo. She thought Ava had bought it for herself. No wonder you asked for no sugar, Quinn muttered. Leo took a sip of the boba, then reached for the bags Quinn was holding. Huh, are these men's clothes? They're pretty much all for you, Quinn said with a resigned smile. Ava said your wardrobe consists of the same 3 shirts, so she dragged me out to help buy you some new clothes. Leo looked at Ava, who blushed slightly, and said defensively, it was just on the way. On the way. Leo glanced at the mountain of bags. This was on the way? TSK, our Ava is such a tsundra. He didn't call her out on it, though, and dutifully took on the role of bag carrier. The 3 continued to shop. Leo and Ava walked hand in hand, while Quinn trailed behind them, grinding her teeth in frustration. She shouldn't have come. 3 was a crowd, and there was clearly no room for her. By the way, I might have to go to Westlake City in a couple of days, Leo told Ava. The results for the math competition came out. I got first, so I have to go there for the nationals. So, do you want to come with me? We can make a trip out of it. Leo paused, then added, I have a friend there, and I heard there's going to be a festival of lights around the same time. Festival of lights? Ava's eyes lit up. She was tempted. The main thing was, her relationship with Leo hadn't made any real progress in the last 2 weeks. This big pig had made no move to be more proactive. Ava wanted to use this trip as an opportunity to push things forward. But, don't we have final exams in a couple of days? She asked, troubled. No problem. I'll have Professor Miller arrange for us to take them later. But don't you still have that deal with Dylan? Do I? Leo scratched his head, only now remembering. That guy Dylan had promised to buy him a new Yasuo skin if Leo helped him cheat. Forget him, Leo said with a pained expression. I'll just have to give up the skin. Such touching brotherly love, Ava thought sarcastically. Well, in that case, we should probably buy some things for the trip. You 2 can go by yourselves. I'm out, Quinn protested. My shop is just up ahead. I'm going back. I'm done being your third wheel. Quinn, you're still here. Ava turned around, surprised. Quinn opened her mouth, but stopped herself from swearing. My shopping bags are still in Leo's hands. How could I leave? Fine. You 2 have your romance. Let the rest of us suffer. Give them to me. She stomped over to Leo, snatched her bags, and stormed back to her pet supply store without another word. Leo and Ava were left standing there, a little dazed. Why is Quinn mad? Ava asked. I don't know. Maybe Kane did something to upset her again. Leo scratched his head. He remembered Ava saying Quinn was Kane's cousin, and that he used to annoy her all the time. Honestly, I don't know when Kane will ever grow up, Ava said, taking a sip of her boba. Well, let's go buy some travel stuff. Okay, back at the BSO, in Director Jensen's office. Director, I don't understand. Alex pointed at the personnel list. Why do I have to work under Leo Evans? Alex, you need to understand our difficult position, Jensen said calmly, sipping his tea. I don't understand. You need to learn to overcome. I can't overcome this. Alex's eyes were wide. You know what kind of person Leo is. He's a complete lunatic. If you had made him my subordinate, I could have tolerated it. But you're making me his subordinate? On what grounds? Jensen looked up, genuinely surprised by the intensity of Alex's reaction. And it's not just me, Director. A lot of guys have issues with this. Alex, Jensen interrupted. Let's make a bet. Alex paused, blinking. Before he could respond, Jensen continued. If Leo can find Dr. Quentin Marks in Westlake City this time, you will work under him without complaint. How about it? Find Dr. Alex's words caught in his throat, his eyes filled with shock. You mean, the Dr. Quentin Marks from the Manhattan incident, years ago. He's in Westlake City? I'm not certain, Jensen said, shaking his head. You know, I've been looking for him for many years. All this time, I've only had a suspicion that he was hidden away in Westlake City. So I gave Leo a mission to find him. Jensen looked up at Alex. So, do we have a bet? Alex's expression shifted, a storm of emotions crossing his face. After a long moment, he clenched his jaw. Deal. If Leo can really find Dr. Quentin Marks, then I will gladly work under him. And the morale of the other agents. I'll handle it. Jensen smiled, satisfied. After Alex left, the office returned to its dim quiet. Jensen lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, his gaze distant as if lost in memory. Quentin Marks? He murmured the name, his tone unreadable. It was neither happy nor sad. Only those who had been through that battle knew what that name, that man, truly signified. He was a kind man, and a man who deserved to die. It was evening by the time Leo and Ava got home. They had been out all day, grabbing a couple bowls of spicy ramen on the street for dinner. They only remembered halfway through their meal that they hadn't put out food for Reggie. It wasn't a big deal, though. Reggie was used to it by now. He was a qualified cat. He knew how to break into the food bag himself. You stupid cat. Why did you get kibble all over the floor? Leo asked, exasperated, seeing the mess. Reggie, who had been licking kibble off the floor, looked up with a sullen expression and just stared at Leo. His eyes were full of profanity. You're the one who forgot to feed me, and now you're blaming me? Serves you right for failing your driving test. Reggie sighed, ignored Leo, and went back to his meal. Leo catch. Ava tossed him a few shopping bags, then clutched one to her chest and scurried into her room, as if afraid he'd see what she'd bought. Leo glanced over, but didn't think much of it. He dropped the bags in the living room and cleaned up the mess Reggie had made. Sitting on the sofa, he pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts for a while, and smiled when he found the name he was looking for. Ring. Yo? Leo. After about 30 seconds, the call was answered. A young, teasing male voice came through the phone. Haven't seen you since high school graduation. What made you think of calling me? Hearing the familiar voice, Leo chuckled. The person on the other end was his high school classmate, Ethan Sia. You made it into the national math competition too, right? Leo said coolly. With your skills, don't tell me you didn't even pass the prelims. Who do you take me for? Of course I made it, Ethan retorted. It's weird, though. I never thought you'd participate in something like this. I remember you never cared about this stuff. Couldn't be helped. How about this professor who's forcing me to compete? Anyway, I'm heading to West Lake City in a couple of days. You're coming here? Awesome. You want me to pick you up? Yeah, but I'm not coming alone. Who else? Your professor. And Leo glanced toward Ava's room and lowered his voice. And my girlfriend. The other end of the line went silent. You're kidding me, right? Nope. Leo, you son of a bitch. Ethan couldn't hold it in anymore. We promised we'd be single forever. How could you get a girlfriend? Hey, Ethan, what can I say? She saw how handsome and charming I was and just had to be with me. I couldn't just say no, could I? You? I don't believe it. I will die before I believe it. Leo raised an eyebrow. Why was this kid so unwilling to face reality? So young, so emotional. Just then, Ava came out of her room, having changed clothes. Seeing Leo on the phone, she asked, Leo, who are you talking to? A friend. Lives in West Lake City. His name's Ethan Sia. Ethan heard every word of their exchange, especially Ava's voice. In West Lake City, his eyes went wide as he stared at the time on his phone screen. 10 o'clock at night. Leo, where are you right now? Ethan asked, his voice trembling. At home. Hearing this, Ethan clenched his jaw and his fists. 10 at night, with his girlfriend at home. That meant they were living together. Leo, you bastard. You lucky son of a bitch. Thinking about his own love life, Ethan felt like he might as well just die. Hello, Ethan? Why'd you go quiet? Leo guessed what Ethan was thinking and had to suppress a laugh. Don't forget to come pick us up. He made sure to emphasize the word us. Pick up my ass. Don't even call me when you get to West Lake City. Ethan shouted, then promptly hung up. His composure was shattered. Ever since high school, he and Leo had been constantly competing, especially in math. They were both gifted the pride and joy of their math teacher. Because of this, they had been exceptionally close, a friendship born of mutual respect. After graduation, due to family reasons, Ethan had returned to West Lake City and enrolled at West Lake University, while Leo had stayed in Ethelberg. Now that I think about it, it's been almost a year since we've seen each other, Leo said to Ava, recounting his history with Ethan, conveniently leaving out his own high school troublemaker phase. TSK, I can't believe you actually had a friend like that in high school. Ava was stroking Reggie, casually leaning her back against Leo's shoulder. A pleasant fragrance wafted over. Leo's nose twitched, and he gave Ava a surprised look. Had she changed her shampoo? No, shampoo wasn't usually this strong. It was perfume. Are you wearing perfume? Huh. Ava panicked. Was it that obvious? Quinn had given her the perfume today. She rarely ever wore any. She had only spritzed a tiny bit on when she was changing. A really, really tiny bit. Ava couldn't even smell it on herself. Did Leo have a dog's nose? Ava's eyes darted around, then she suddenly smiled. I am. Does it smell good? It's a little strong. Ava's face fell. She was never wearing it again. And here she thought the perfume might make Leo a little more proactive. Seemed she'd been overthinking things. But soon, she noticed Leo's gaze kept drifting down to her legs. Didn't Leo once say my legs were very pale? At that thought, Ava deliberately hiked up the leg of her pajama shorts a little, exposing more of her long thigh. This time, Leo's eyes were completely fixed on her leg, not even trying to hide it. Seeing this, Ava smiled to herself. So that's what he likes. Watch me wrap you around my little finger. Leo, why are you staring at my leg like that? She asked with faint surprise. Leo's brow was furrowed in concentration. He looked at her leg and said, This doesn't make any sense. Huh. Ava was taken aback. What doesn't make sense? Why don't you have any bites on your leg? Leo pulled up his own pant leg, revealing a smattering of red welts. All from mosquitoes. Every creature on Earth had a reason to exist except for mosquitoes. He looked at her, completely baffled. Why do mosquitoes only bite me and not you? Ava blinked, her mind a complete blank. Why you've been staring at my leg this whole time? Because of that. Yeah, what else would it be for? Nothing else? Nope. Leo scratched his head. What did you think it was? Ava was silent. She was so stupid, so truly stupid. She knew Leo's brain worked differently from a normal person's, yet she still tried to apply normal logic to him. Smack! A throw pillow hit Leo in the face. Ava stomped back to her room in a huff. Slam! The door shut, leaving one bewildered human and one cat in the living room. The cat, of course, was an innocent party. Reggie glanced at Leo, then shook his head in a very human-like way and patted away with a sigh. Leo pulled the pillow off his face and blinked, completely mystified. What has happened?